hate that show. Why did you play that music and what time is it?
Well, it's Podblast time. Hey there, everybody. It's Chance Bartels with you for a couple of hours for the Nostalgic Podblast. Hope you're having a great week or weekend, as it were. Sorry I'm a little late, man. It's been a really packed week and weekend. The last couple weekends have been really busy. So that's why I'm at a special time. But we'll be back next week to 3:30 Eastern Time, 12:30 Pacific in the Nostalgic Podblast Facebook group live. And then, of course, we're on Fistful of Radio Saturdays and Sundays at 2 p.m. And also, you'll find us more often lately in the evenings at 9 p.m. on fistfulofradio.com. So, hey there, audience. It's just me. And I've got to get a couple things off my chest. But first, were you expecting Three's Company? I bet you were, based on that corny music that I really like, by the way. And the Facebook post I did letting people know I'd be on later at 7 o'clock, 4 o'clock Pacific instead of the regular 3:30 time. Because I was at a great event over the weekend, and they're a friend of the Podblast, and it's called the Southern Fried Gaming, hear me clearly, Gaming Expo, is in Game Room. This brings back the classic arcade games of the 80s that you'd find in shopping malls like here in the Atlanta, Georgia area. You had Tilt in Perimeter Mall. You had the Gold Mine in Cumberland Mall in the Atlanta, Georgia area. And I'm sure if you're in California or whatever state you might live in or lived in when you grew up, you had a favorite arcade. Well, this convention is just a whole weekend of classic and new games, pinball, video games, consoles, everything. And they're selling classic cartridges like Nintendo games and more modern stuff. There's a dealer's room, there's live wrestling. Had a really nice time, and I encourage you to go to their website. It's an annual event once a year at the Marriott Renaissance Cobb Waverly Hotel in Cobb County in the Atlanta metropolitan area, right down the road from where the Atlanta Braves play at the Battery. Can't even hardly say the name of their silly park, Truist Park. I don't like their new name. It used to be called SunTrust Park, like SunTrust the bank, and then the banking systems merged, and I just can't stand Truist Park. But I digress. The night's topic is going to be classic commercials like Super Bowl ads and banned cigarette commercials. Did you know that cigarette ads have not been seen on television since 1969 because the government made it illegal because of the health concerns that were raised by the American Cancer Society and the American Lung Association? All the health risks associated with smoking cigarettes came to light, and thus it was no longer okay to air cigarette commercials on television. However, I have some that are just hysterical in retrospect. A lot of funny jingles, things like that. But also, I want to talk about some stuff in the news, like some breaking news. Man, this whole Michael Richards deal, like, I don't know if you like Jeopardy. I do. I'm a big fan of game shows across the board, including current ones like Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune. And as you know, sadly, in November 2020, Alex Trebek lost his battle with cancer. And so since then, production resumed, and there was a tryout process of people that wanted to be the new permanent host of Jeopardy. You had Katie Couric, who I thought would be a bad choice because she's always been ratings poison. You know, whether or not you like her personality, at CBS Evening News and the anchor desk, she tanked in the ratings. She was terrible. I knew she was ratings poison, and sure enough, her ratings were not great for Jeopardy. But anyway, you had her, Savannah Guthrie, LeVar Burton, who really inserted himself in the conversation of wanting to be a Jeopardy host via tweets, and that's fine. I like him. I liked him in The Next Generation, certainly Roots. He's a hell of an actor, but my concern about him, of course, it has nothing to do with race. It's because he's too old, and I'm not an ageist, but do we really want to have someone who is over 55 or even over 60 years of age who may come down with an ailment that could curtail their life? And then the producers will be back to square one of searching for the next new Jeopardy host. I think it's foolish. I mean, hell, he could get sickle cell or any ailment. He could get cancer. it would be a terrible thing. I think they should have some on the younger side. So what happened was the executive producer who broke the news, by the way, of the passing of Alex Trebek, he was the first, I think he was the first or maybe the second fill-in host after the Jeopardy champion, who also was good, but he's a busy guy. Ken Jennings from Seattle, Washington. He's got a lot going on with other game shows, and that really prohibited him from committing to doing more fill-in shots as the tryout host of Jeopardy. But Mike Richards came up to the plate, and I thought he did a fine job. And they announced recently that he would be the host, the permanent host of Jeopardy for daytime. And then Mayim, help me out here, Blossom. And from the Big Bang Theory, Mayim Black. I'm probably mispronouncing her last name. I'm sorry, because I thought she did an excellent job. She was announced to do the primetime specials for Jeopardy. But now both are under fire, and Michael Richards had to step down due to some very, very unfortunate comments that came to light that he made in public. And I have them. I've unearthed some of Michael Richards, the executive producer of Jeopardy's comments. Let's listen, shall we? This is very explosive. If you have kids in the room, I have bleeped out certain words, but here is Michael Richards in his own words. This sealed his fate as becoming the new permanent host of Jeopardy. Here we go.
Shut up! 50 years ago you had you upside down with a fucking fork up your ass! You can talk, you can talk, you can talk your brain now, motherfucker! Rolls out, he's a nigger! He's a nigger! He's a nigger!
Oh my God.
A nigger! Look, there's a nigger! Ooh. All right, you see? It shocks you to see what's buried beneath your stupid motherfuckers! What was it called for? It's not called for you there on my ass, you cheap motherfucker! You guys have been talking and talking and talking! I don't know.
This guy's going
What's
nuts.
the matter? Is it too much for you to handle?
I can't repeat what he's saying. It's shocking. Michael Richards.
Wait a minute, where's he going? Crocodile? Call him in crocodile, nigga!
Okay, I got to stop the tape. He's using very bad language.
Oh, it's a big threat. That's how you get.
This is disgraceful.
Wait a minute, he's not going, is he?
What? Oh my God, I'm on a roll of mistakes. I've got the wrong Michael Richards here. That's Michael Richards, the actor who played Kramer on Seinfeld when he nutted up doing stand-up comedy. Forgive me, folks, forgive me. That's the wrong Michael Richards. Oh my gosh, I am just such a screw-up. No. This is a different Michael Richards, the executive producer of Jeopardy. And let's find out what he actually said. Actually, I did pull that audio as well. And let's hear why he had to be booted from contention. This is the real Michael Richards and what he said that was so contentious. Here we go.
Booth slots.
It's from a
To the
podcast
point
he
to
did.
where Beth got a job being was it a booth hoe? Is that right?
Yes.
At CES?
It was a booth babe. I don't think
Yeah.
they use the word hoe for that.
What is a booth babe?
A
Whatever.
booth slut is someone who dresses up in very provocative clothes.
So that was in a t-shirt.
Well, She was
Go on.
she was in a wet
V-neck.
t-shirt contest. Well, okay, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Have you ever taken a nude picture?
I'm not answering that question to you, Mike Richards.
Answer it right now to your fans. Have you?
I mean, no, I haven't.
Yes, you
I
have.
not like naked. I've taken like cute pictures of myself that I thought
What does
were
that
kinda
mean?
Cute.
What does that mean?
I thought it was like so cute.
Like booby pictures? What are we looking at? See, I
So-
don't want to make this a political show
I know.
because here's the thing with Beth is that I know that you're hardworking and I know that you're out there trying to get stuff going.
Mm-hmm.
The dangerous side about the crack
Right.
that you just took
Mm-hmm.
is that not everyone is like you,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
but everyone can collect unemployment, which is why we have so many people on unemployment right now.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why we have so many people on food stamps. Because what if you got unemployment and food stamps? You'd be like, good Lord, you know what I'm saying?
Well, what is $1 to me? I mean, it's a lot, but
I'm guessing if we compared our ratios, it's like $1,000 to me.
You know what? Whenever I think I want to keep $1, I'm like, no, give the $1. That's my MO.
Was this the government's unemployment money that you're?
Oh my God.
Well, I don't know because I'm
You're
not getting that
perpetuating the
much
circle.
anymore because I'm in the play.
Oh, damn you, Obama.
Don't you start.
No, that's amazing. If you gave away
I'm
money
shocked.
that was given to you by the government, that
the best
is
story ever told over. Is it over now?
That's literally
Jen,
the,
hit the music.
that's the circle of no life.
No, Mike, it was just
That's
$1.
the sound of America going down the toilet.
I thought that she needed it so she could get like some
She didn't even
coffee or
ask
some
you for
food.
it, or some crack,
I know,
or
that's
some meth. See, I don't want to make this a political show
I know.
because here's the thing with Beth, is that I know that you're hardworking and I know that you're out there trying to get stuff going.
Mm-hmm.
The dangerous side about the crack
Right.
that you just took
Mm-hmm.
is that not everyone is like you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But everyone can collect unemployment, which is why we have so many people on unemployment right now.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why we have so many people on food stamps. Because what if you got unemployment and food stamps? You'd be like, good Lord, you know what I'm saying?
Wow. So that is, this caused an uproar, and the powers that be pressured the producers of Jeopardy at Sony to remove Mike Richards. And these are comments he made on a podcast. You know, I don't know. I don't know if that's terribly offensive. However, the person has come forward, a journalist, a female, and she looks like she's probably a millennial, and she's so proud of taking Michael Richards out. And let's listen to a little bit of this, and then we'll get started in the happier-go-lucky pop culture stuff of the night and the week. But let's listen to this. This is from CNN. Let's see if it'll play. Hang on. I got you. This is absolutely ridiculous to me. I think it's ridiculous. Here we go.
Jeopardy needs a new host again. Executive producer Mike Richards lobbied for the job behind closed doors, but now he's stepping down after just one day of tapings. So Sony has to find a new permanent host to take over for Alex Trebek. This shocking turn of events would not have happened were it not for the extensive investigation by the Ringer reporter Claire McNear. She exposed a slew of offensive comments toward women, Jews, Asians, and others, all in Richards' past. They were on an old podcast that he recorded in 2013 and 2014.
Damn.
So, how did McNear find the podcast? Why didn't Sony find it? Why didn't they vet the guy? How did this happen? How did the smartest show on TV ended up making such a dumb mistake? Let's ask Claire McNear. She's with me now. Claire, what's your reporting secret?
I just kept looking. I was really, after the initial reporting came out that he was in advanced negotiations to become the new host of Jeopardy, there was a lot more scrutiny of a couple lawsuits stating to his time at The Price is Right. And he had to issue an apology to the Jeopardy staff. And he said in part that that did not reflect the reality of who he is. And that sort of set me on this path of looking into, you know, who he is and letting his past statements kind of guide that information. And I, found this podcast that he hosted in a job very similar to the one that he now holds at Jeopardy, where he was the person running this large workplace of this storied game show. And he did this podcast very much in an official capacity.
Yeah.
Taped it right there on the set and everything. So, it kind of, I think was fairly shocking to people, but of course it's also shocking that Sony says they didn't know about it.
Last year, you wrote the book,
Shocking.
Answers in the Form of Questions. I love this book. It's the definitive history of Jeopardy. It's all about the Trebek years, but you also looked forward and what's going to happen. So who's going to be the new host, Claire? If anybody knows, you know.
I'm I mean, that's a good question. They've said they're going back to guest hosts. We don't know how long they'll do that. We don't know for sure what they plan to do in this new guest host rotation. I think Sony has two options. One is to go back to some of those guest hosts that they used over the last 6-7 months. 3 of whom were actually in the studio on Thursday when Richards taped his 5 episodes of Jeopardy before he stepped down as host. So that's Maya Bialik, Buzzy Cohen, and Ken Jennings. So they're all kind of there and on hand. And then, of course, there's also the Clue crew, who kind of provide an in-house possibility as well. But it's also possible that Sony now will go with new hosts. I mean, people who perhaps have more experience in game shows, which didn't really happen the first time around, or somebody like Laura Coates, a CNN analyst who has gotten a whole bunch of attention over this, the last week or so, because Trebek had said that he thought that she would be a great candidate. So, we don't know how long they're going to redo this search.
We don't know, but we know guest hosts are going to take over for the time being. And I checked in with Sony just now. No comment yet on who will be filling in. So we will see. Claire, thank you so much. The book, again, answers in the form of questions.
Go to hell, Claire. I don't condone. I would like to hear the context of these offensive comments. I don't condone offensive comments towards any group, any religion, any race, especially if it's hateful. Okay. But I want to know the context of this. I thought he did a good job. And he is the executive producer, so he's not stepping down from Jeopardy entirely. So let's not just celebrate and start ushering in ratings poison Katie Couric just yet. But I think LeVar Burton will get another shot. And like I said, I honestly like him, but I don't think he did a very good job as host. His eyes were kind of bugged out. He seemed nervous. He was kind of rushing. And maybe he'll get better if he gets another shot at it. We'll see. But I want to play another piece about this because this is breaking news over the weekend. This is from Entertainment Tonight about the whole situation with Mike Richards. And then we'll move on to something else and something happier. This pisses me off.
Mike Richards is stepping down as the host of Jeopardy after receiving backlash for sexist comments he made in the past. And for taking on the hosting gig when he was
said
already
slut.
the executive producer of the show.
And now, here is the executive producer
Give me a break.
of Jeopardy, Mike Richards.
The great Johnny Gilbert, thank you very much, sir. Welcome, everyone.
Richards, who was announced as the new permanent host earlier this month, made the announcement that he would no longer host the show in an internal note to staff on Friday. He also revealed that production would be canceled for the day. In the message, Richards said it pains him that the past incidents and comments have cast such a shadow on Jeopardy, adding that he was deeply honored to be asked to host the syndicated show and was thrilled by the opportunity to expand his role.
It's very important to keep it going.
But the 46-year-old TV exec said over the last several days, it became clear that moving forward as host would be too much of a distraction for the fans and not the right move for the show. Richards adds that he is stepping down as host effective immediately, and as the search for a new host begins, guest hosts will be brought on in the interim. He concluded his note writing, quote, "I want to apologize to each of you for the unwanted negative attention that has come to Jeopardy over the last few weeks and for the confusion and delays this is now causing. I know I have a lot of work to do to regain your trust and confidence."
We're trying to build a kinder, gentler society.
A spokesperson for Sony Pictures Television, which produces Jeopardy,
It's a hit job,
also
folks.
released a statement to
It's a hit
ET
job.
saying they support Richards' decision to step down as the host. Adding, quote, "We were surprised this week to learn of Mike's 2013-2014 podcast and the offensive language he used in the past. We have spoken with him about our concerns and our expectations moving forward. Mike has been with us for the last 2 years and has led the Jeopardy team through the most challenging time the show has ever experienced, following Alex Trebek's death. It is our hope that as EP, he will continue to do so with professionalism
Executive producer.
and respect." The news comes one day after Richards issued a statement saying he was deeply sorry for past controversial comments he made that were resurfaced by The Ringer. The outlet reported that during his podcast that he started in 2013 called The Random Show, Richards made multiple questionable comments about women's bodies. In his statement
The
on
horror.
Thursday, Richards said, quote, "It is humbling to confront a terribly embarrassing moment of misjudgment, thoughtlessness, and insensitivity from nearly a decade ago. Looking back now, there is no excuse, of course, for the comments I made on this podcast, and I am deeply sorry."
he never mentioned names to us. He
Alex Trebek
really wanted to be the host of the show while he was the host of the show. It was his show until he told us he was going to retire. And amazingly, he never did. And I think that's a blessing.
E.T. was with Richards following the death of longtime host Alex Trebek, who died in November following his battle with pancreatic cancer. And he opened up about the qualities he'd like to see in a future host.
He did talk about what it would take to be a good Jeopardy host. Typical Alex, he was self-deprecating, said it's not that hard. Let me tell you that is maybe the hardest show on television to host. 61 clues in 22 minutes, accents, pronunciations, scoring, calling on people, ruling on the answers. So he talked a lot about that it needs to be someone that the audience will respect, that's believable in the role, has credibility, and that's who he was. And he was so smart that you bought it because you knew he knew the answer too.
Thank you, Entertainment Tonight and ET Online, for that report. And it doesn't stop there, like I mentioned earlier. And by the way, he is the executive producer of Wheel of Fortune as well. And there have been attempted hit jobs on Pat Sajak in the past, in recent past. But Alex Trebek himself made humorous, sarcastic comments to contestants and in interviews. And I guess he was just untouchable. But I don't know. I think this is agenda-driven. I think somebody wants to see a female or someone of a certain type take over, no matter whether they're qualified or can bring in the ratings or not. I don't know. I just, this lady was really digging for this. But we'll talk about something more pleasant here. But I got to read you this article about Mayim Bialik, the other host. And here's the other hit piece that's out there about her. This really blows my mind. Let's see. It's right here. Oh, and this is interesting also. You know who James Holzhauer is? He's like the most winningest contestant on Jeopardy, and he's the one that's all in. He's a professional sports gambler in Las Vegas, and he took a shot at Joe Buck, and this was kind of funny. This article is from Microsoft News. While the drama surrounding the permanent host role at Jeopardy continues, it's good to know that there's still a little drama to be mined from the guest hosts, who attempted to fill that role and likely never had a legitimate shot to win it. Oh, really? You insert that? Why do you say that? Ratings talk, bullshit walks, ass. Anyway, sportscaster Joe Buck was among the media, entertainment, and sports figures who got the chance to step into Alex Trebek's shoes this past summer. It would be fair to say that the reaction to Buck was mixed. Yeah, because he sucked. It's more than mixed. He was not good. Joe Buck, who's white, by the way, he sucked. Much as it always is. While some appreciated his charm and ease with contestant interactions, many others just found him off-putting or annoying. One such critic was James Holzhauer, who famously won the show for 32 consecutive games. I'm going to insert this. These are my words. He actually quit because he wanted to spend time with his family. He could have gone on and on and on, but he achieved a certain level he was comfortable with and he walked away. So anyway, getting back to the story here from MSN News, one such critic was James Holzhauer, who famously won the show for 32 consecutive games. Whenever anything Jeopardy-related happens, people look for him to comment, and he was more than happy to drop the hammer on Buck during his run. Here's a tweet from James Holzhauer. Jeopardy says whoever hosts full-time will have to quit their day job. So I'm crossing my fingers it's Joe Buck. He sucks in a lot of people's minds as a sportscaster. He's just riding on the coattails of his dad, nepotism, and he doesn't have any decent talent of his own, according to some people. So certainly nothing Buck hasn't heard before, but the broadcaster clearly became aware of the dig at some point. During a recent interview, I won't even mention the damn podcast, Buck responded with a dig of his own. I wouldn't know James Holzhauer if he was sitting here in my room, Buck said. I don't know much about him. Well, what you should learn if you're trying to host Jeopardy, dumbass, you should learn he's one of the top contestants of all time, idiot. I don't know much about him. I know his success on the show, but I don't know what kind of a guy he is. I have no idea, and I couldn't care less. I'm at the point now where I'm so overreacting to Twitter. That's a weird quote. So anyway, that kind of ticked me off. But the Mayim incident, let me talk about that, and then we'll get to the main topic of the day. Let's see. I wanted to read this to you guys. Let's see. For you guys. Yeah. This is about the other named regular host, besides Mike Richards, Mayim Bialik, who was, of course, on Blossom, the Star of Blossom, and then in The Big Bang Theory and other projects. So let me read this from Newsweek. Mike Richards stepped down Friday from his recently announced appointment as Jeopardy host due to controversial comments he made years ago. Now, some people on social media are calling on Mayim Bialik, who was hired to host the primetime version of the show, to do the same. Bialik, an actress known for her roles on Blossom and The Big Bang Theory, has been scrutinized for remarks she's made in the past on vaccines, as well as an opinion article she wrote for the New York Times, which critics called an example of victim blaming. Jeff Jarvis, a former television critic — I can't stand critics, they're the most uncreative people on the planet. They couldn't write a script to save their lives. I mean, look at, God rest his soul, Roger Ebert. He wrote Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. It was crap. Anyway, Jeff Jarvis, a former television critic and current journalism professor at the City University of New York, was one of many on Friday who felt Bialik should be removed as a replacement for the late host Alex Trebek. Well, hey, she's Jewish. What are you, an anti-Semite? What's wrong with you, Jeff Jarvis? I'm going to investigate you. He also echoed the sentiment felt by a huge sector. Define huge sector, by the way. I love the way this is written. Defined by a huge sector of fans that actor and / children's host LeVar Burton should take over the position. There is an effort to have LeVar Burton step in. He's wanted to insert himself from the beginning. Ever since, before the body of Alex Trebek was cold, LeVar Burton inserted himself in the conversation. That's what this is all about, and he's too old. He may get sick, as I said earlier, and die, drop dead, and then we're back to square one. They need someone younger. I don't care the race, religion, sex, creed, or national origin. But it's not that guy, because he did not do a good job. So anyway, let's move on to something happier before I blow a gasket here. But I do have another slight rant for you today. And I call this, because I'm a runt, I'm a short guy, I'm 5'5". This is my runt rant. This isn't so bad, guys. And this isn't political, and this is not a political show, one way or the other. But there's an amazing free national classic game show digital network you may or may not have heard of called Buzzer, B-U-Z-Z-R apostrophe, exclamation, B-U-Z-Z-R, B-U-Z-Z-R exclamation, which shows vintage game shows from the 1950s until 2008 or 2009. And that program being $1 Million Password, which was hosted by the late, great Regis Philbin. Is that your final answer? Which ran on CBS Prime Time in 2008 and 2009. Now, Buzzer primarily airs classic game shows like the 1970s Match Game, Family Feud, Richard Dawson, Tattletales, hosted by Bert Convy, which is hilarious, even to this day. Now You See It, Super Password, Classic Concentration, hosted by Alex Trebek from 87 to 93, among others, and many more. And what I love the comedy in classic game shows. It was really funny. You saw the personalities of the MCs and of the celebrity panelists and of the contestants. And a lot of the contestants like Kirstie Alley went on to be actors and to do great things. So I love Buzzer, but here comes my rant, all right? Here in Atlanta, Georgia, WAGA-TV, which is a Fox affiliate, like the network that used to air American Idol and airs The Simpsons. You know Fox, of course. The network, not the news channel, but the network. WAGA-TV in Atlanta is a Fox affiliate, and they carry Buzzer in one of their sub-channels. So you can pick up Buzzer through your digital rabbit ears. If you've cut the cord and you have an antenna, which is a digital antenna, you can pick it up if you're within the Atlanta city limits or any city you might be in. If you're near a major city or if you're in a suburb not too far away, depending on where the tower is or the signal generates from, you can pick it up for free. Well, in Atlanta, last Saturday, in late August, WAGA-TV suddenly decided to air a soccer game. And what ticks me off is Buzzer announced some new programming. It's all password shows up until the Regis Philbin show I just mentioned on Saturday night. And What did WAGA TV air? Oh my God, they aired an MLS Major League Soccer game, the Seattle Sounders specifically versus the Columbus Crew. Why? That's not a fit for a demographic that's watching a classic game show. It's not a sports channel. And Fox in Atlanta, WAGA TV, I should say, Atlanta has several channels, like a movies channel they could preempt, which may not be a fit for sports either, but they have several different channels, I think 5 sub-channels that they could have preempted. I was disappointed. And the reason, a lot of you might be saying, dude, it streams on Pluto TV. And yes, I have a Roku Ultra, so I can stream Buzzer. But what I like to do, because I'm a geek and I'm a pop culture aficionado and a historian, I'm not a journalist, but I am a pop culture historian on an amateur level at this point. But I record some of the classic game shows that I like when it has a specific guest that I like, and I convert it to DVD. And you can't do that through streaming. It has to be recorded because I have Xfinity. I've not cut the cord yet. Xfinity Comcast, and they carry Buzzer, the WAGA 5.3 sub-channel on Xfinity. I think it's channel, wrote it down, 234. That's it. So that just ticked me off. They preempted for soccer, and usually when they do it once, they're going to do it the whole friggin' season. So I'm pretty upset about that. Nothing you can do because it's all about the Benjamins. It's some guy in a suit who probably got in through a relative or through nepotism or luck. But it's just some complete jackass in a suit making yet another stupid programming decision. Way to go, dummy. Anyway, it just really, really ticked me off. But now I'm going to take a deep breath and calm down and focus on the topic at hand. Reminder, we do have a contest going on. I always give away items, primarily DVD sets. Hopefully some of you can still play DVDs on either a laptop or an old school DVD player or a portable DVD player, which I'm about to give away as well, which are pretty cool. You can take them with you to the airport or to work. They're small, headphones plug into them. They're pretty cool. It's kind of old tech, but I wish it would have a comeback because I love the portable DVD player. By the way, during the pandemic, a couple years ago, the pandemic of 2020, when coronavirus was at its height, DVD sales and DVD player and Blu-ray player spiked. They did, I guess, because people were hunkered down. And hopefully that'll be a trend. I would love to see that come back. So back to the contest. I have a trivia question for you. And I'm going to announce what I'm giving away. I announced this last week, but let me just show you. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook Live, our YouTube channel, if you're listening on FacefulRadio.com, is the Nostalgic Podblast on YouTube and on Facebook. That's our Facebook group. So our contest, given away. Know what that music's from? It's from Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. I'm giving away a DVD Season 3 set. It's the second half of Season 3. Sealed, new in the box. I like this theme by Paul Sawtell. So I'm giving away this DVD set. All you have to do is answer this question. You have a 50-50 shot because it's a yes or no question. And I try to pick questions that are not easily searched online. So Google cheaters can't find the answer. I want to reward people that know. That's what I like. People like Barry King, who's not eligible, and a lot of our past winners really impressed me with their knowledge because I try to come up with something that's not a hard question, but just something that I would be impressed if you knew. I mean, and I'm not giving away a trip. I'm not giving away a car. It's not a major prize, you know, so I'm not trying to like strain your brain, but I have a question for you, and please hold your letters. This is not agenda driven in any way. I simply wanted to come up with a question that is not so easy and something you could search. So here was my question. I think I raised this in, the Podblast I did. I think it's Podblast 70. R-rated movies produced and released in 1981 that turned 40 years old in 2021. And here's the question. In the Friday the 13th movies, remember these aren't real, so don't freak out. Question is, did Jason ever kill a baby in a Friday the 13th movie? And here's a hint. It could be an unborn baby if he did, in fact, ever kill a baby. I'm not saying he did, but I want you to think outside the box. Did he? Yes or no? Anyone that's won in the past is not eligible. I want new winners only. Just leave a comment in the Facebook group, The Nostalgic Podblast, for this video. You'll see this video pinned to the top for a week until I do a new show next week. Always pin the latest show to the top of the page. Let me know. Did the character, the hockey-wearing psychopath, the character, fictional character of Jason Voorhees, ever kill a baby in any Friday the 13th movie? Let me know. And then if you want this DVD set, it'll be yours. And there's a lot of monsters in it. It's kind of cheesy. The show started out really strong in black and white. The first year of 4 seasons was in black and white. Then it went to color. And it was based on a movie directed by Irwin Allen of the same name, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, which had not really that same theme song. That theme was scored specifically for when it went to television. The movie came out in 1961. The television series debuted in September 1964 on ABC TV. But Frankie Avalon sang the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea song for the movie. But I digress. And Irwin Allen directed the movie. But it's a cool show, and MeTV airs it. They do cut scenes out for more commercial time, but they air it as part of their Sci-Fi Saturday Night, along with all of the other Irwin Allen major TV shows of the 60s, Time Tunnel, Land of the Giants, and Lost in Space. So, I don't know. If you want it, just answer that question, and I'll mail it to you, whatever P.O. box, wherever you want it to be mailed to, it's yours, and it'll be free. So here's some nostalgic news coming up. Have some birthdays coming up. I know that everybody, every doggone show does the birthday thing. You know, it's pretty cliche, but there is a notable birthday coming up on Monday, and I want to talk about it. That's right, it's Barbara Eden's 90th birthday on August 23rd, 2021. She turns 90 years old. And Barbara Eden was born in Tucson, Arizona. She was raised in San Francisco. She's a great talent, lovely lady. She still looks lovely to this day. She can sing. She certainly can act. And we loved her for 5 seasons as Jeannie and Jeannie 2. Her mischievous sister on I Dream of Jeannie, which came along the season after Bewitched premiered on ABC. NBC aired I Dream of Jeannie, and I just thought it was hysterical. Larry Hagman, of course, played at first Captain Anthony Nelson, and then he was promoted to Major in the middle of season 1, the only black and white season. And that music, by the way, was by Hugo Montenegro, who had also scored the Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns, you know, like Fistful of Dollars. Kind of like fistfulofradio.com, where you can find this very show and other wonderful shows like BK on the Air, Saving Our America with Sean O'Neill, and Pro Football Fast Break, a brand new show we're airing Saturdays and Sundays at noon. If you like football, it's not political. They don't talk politics. It's about fantasy football. It'll help you with your picks as the season comes up. You know, of course, we're in the preseason mode, but it's a really, really entertaining show on fistfulofradio.com, and you can find it anywhere fine podcasts can be found, like Apple. Pro Football Fast Break. I want to also plug The Wilder Ride with Alan Sanders. That's a really neat show, non-political show, when they have great guests and interviews, and that's also now on Fistful of Radio, Wednesdays at 1 o'clock. You can find that, and we have other wonderful, wonderful shows. You can find a great comic, Jim Gossett. Some of his comedy, his classic bits are on there. He's a master impressionist, way better than Rich Little ever was. He's a really talented guy. So please head to Fistful of Radio, but be warned, there is some political content on there. I try to be politically neutral on this show, but it does lean, you know, right center. I just want you to know that. Other stuff, but all the shows I just mentioned are non-political, family-friendly, and you can really dig them. But BK on the Air is a radio show that Barry King and Alan Sanders do live, and I'm with them now. They Barry generously asked me to join his team, and so I'm on there as well. But it's Saturdays live, 10 a.m. to noon on WBHF, and you can stream that anywhere in the TuneIn app or at WBHFradio.org. Let me repeat that because I kind of screwed that up. WBHFradio.org. And that's Atlanta time, 10 a.m. to noon live. And then it's also on Fistful of Radio at 6 o'clock, Saturdays and Sundays. And also it's on Friday afternoon on Fistful of Radio from 1 until 4. I call it the BK Double Shot. 2 episodes back to back. They're about an hour and a half long without commercials. And he puts retro commercials in post-production after it's live. It's kind of cool. I really think it's a great show. It's better than my show. Just saying. Let's see. So getting back to the birthdays real quick. I really wasn't a fan of her in Cheers, but I thought she was great as Carol Brady. Shelley Long is 72, Monday, August 23rd. Also, Vera Miles is 92 on Monday. Now, who is Vera Miles? I know a lot of you out there know who she is. Also shout out to Pat McCormick of Golden Rage of TV. He has a retro television program on YouTube. It's highly viewed. It's really, really good. And it's very brief, too. A lot of the segments are just a couple minutes long. So you can, while you're brushing your teeth, get caught up on the pop culture history. And he interviews people like the Beav from Leave It to Beaver. He's interviewed a lot of celebrities. And I have a big guest coming up within the next 4 weeks. You know this person, national actor of film and TV. It's a great guest. I'm excited. We'll talk about that later. I don't think I'll announce the name yet, but it's coming. It's coming soon, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But Shelley Long, I really like those 2 Brady Bunch parody movies of the mid-1990s, and the director of Fast Times at Ridgemont High directed the first Brady Bunch movie, and then a Very Brady sequel. And I thought Michael Cole did a great job as Mike Brady. It was like a parody. They're like stuck in the 70s, this family. It's set in the 90s in then real time, in present day. But these guys are all dressing like with bell bottoms, and they have the old Ford Pinto or whatever that car was, the station wagon, and all these old cars in the house look the same. And it was like 1969 actually when it started, or the pilot 68, but 69-ish, orange kitchen, and I love those movies, and Shelley Long did a fantastic job as Carol Brady, and she changed her voice to make it deeper. I've seen interviews with her where she talked about that. It was a conscious decision as an artist and an actor to change her voice, because I'm sorry, I got it backwards. She tried to make it higher. I must have dyslexia that's not been diagnosed. Got it backwards. Her voice is normally deeper, and she wanted it to be a little higher because she studied Florence Henderson's voice. The former pitchman. We're going to get to commercials in a little bit for Wesson Oil. Remember those ads with the original Carol Brady? Florence? Anyway, Vera Miles. But getting back to Vera Miles, she was 92 on Monday, and I screwed up on BK on the Air. I said, oh, you'll know Vera Miles from Psycho. She embezzled the money from the bank. And I know, it was Janet Leigh who got stabbed in the shower. She was the one that stole the money, and she got her comeuppance, even though she didn't deserve to die, her character, at the hands of Psycho Norman Bates. But Vera Miles, no, she played the sister of the embezzler. Anyway, and she also, for those that know the show The Fugitive, she was in the very first episode of The Fugitive. Look it up. I'm sure it's on YouTube. It's called Fear in a Desert City. And Vera Miles played a piano player where Dr. Richard Kimball, who was accused of murdering his wife, but he's innocent and he escaped in the train wreck. You probably know the movie starring Harrison Ford, based on the classic show, but David Jansen was the star of the original show. Well, Vera Miles was in the very first episode in pilot, and interestingly enough, in the pilot, they don't show the trial, the escape, all that stuff. That was actually in production order, the 3rd episode after it was picked up as a series that was produced. Well, the 2nd regular one produced after the pilot, 3rd including the pilot. But they didn't air it until Christmas Eve, 1963. So you had to wait. It was like the 14th or 15th episode. I think it was I always screw this up. No. It was the 14th episode of season 1 in air date order, yet it was the 3rd produced. But anyway, so when I say the pilot of The Fugitive, don't be confused if you want to see Fear in a Desert City and you're expecting to see the trial, his wife being killed, the one-armed man, all that jazz. No, that's in The Girl from Little Egypt, which was the 3rd episode filmed and the 14th aired on Christmas Eve, 1963. Anyway, and Pamela Tippin was in that, who passed away a couple years ago, and she was a pretty attractive actor, and she was in that as well. So Vera Miles was in that, and she was also in a spinoff of The Outer Limits. You know The Outer Limits. I mean, not the Showtime revamping of the mid-1990s, but the original Outer Limits on ABC TV prime time, 1963 to January 65, lasted a season and a half. One full first season, and then it was canceled at the end of 65 when the monster craze was fizzling out. You know, along with Addams Family and Munsters and all that stuff. That was out all of a sudden in 66. So actually Outer Limits went out just before Munsters and Addams Family. But she was in a great, Vera Miles, getting off track, an episode of the spinoff, rather, of, it was a attempt of a spinoff of the Outer Limits called The Unknown. And it was going to be more of a anthology of horror, where Outer Limits was more science fiction and horror. But it was going to be, an anthology, of course, means not regular characters, different actors each week, different story, different setting each week. So she was in that, in The Unknown, and it actually aired when the series wasn't picked up by the suits at ABC, stupidly, because it was brilliant. What am I hearing a clip? It was picked up and not picked up, and it became re-edited as an episode of The Outer Limits called The Form of Things Unknown. Anyway, Vera Miles, I got to get on here. And then we had another birthday recently. This was one of the first concerts I ever saw as a kid. Madonna, the Material Girl herself. She turned 6. Up. Hang on, I messed something up. She turned nope. Back it up. Back. God dang it, I screwed up my own joke. Madonna, back on August 16th, turned 63. Her vagina turned 103. I'm sorry, her vagina. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Madonna's vagina, however, turned 103. Oh, God. I think the Lord's telling me you shouldn't have told that joke. Screwed up my own rim shot. But no, I'm kidding, because, she has a reputation for being kind of a loose woman, Madonna. But I love Madonna. I say that lovingly, even though she's kept people waiting recently in concerts. Before COVID-19, I saw her, and she kept people waiting over an hour and a half. But she puts on a great show. It was one of the first concerts. I saw the Like a Virgin tour. I'm old, but she puts on a great show. I don't care about her politics or things she might say or do or her sex life or anything. I really have respect for Madonna, and I like all kinds of music, but I always liked her music growing up, and I liked Iron Maiden. I liked all kinds of music. I liked Duran, for goodness sakes, but Madonna was one of my favorite performers. I really liked her a lot. So happy birthday, Madonna, all jokes aside. The nostalgic toy of the week, Simon. Do you remember the game Simon, the game of flashing lights, the memory game and sounds by Milton Bradley, the game people, the board game people? Now it's Hasbro since 1991 when they pretty much bought Milton Bradley. But originally it was Milton Bradley putting them on store shelves in 1978. Now, getting on to the topic of the night, of the week, classic commercials, cigarette commercials that have been banned since 1969, Super Bowl commercials, all types of commercials that you know and love. And I want to play one for you now. I think this will bring back a lot of pleasant memories for you. It does me. It's one of my favorite commercials of all time. Let's listen to it. You'll recognize it. It's a really cool spot.
Please, stick around. Mr. Green? Mr. Green?
Yeah.
You need any help? I just want you to know, I think you're the best ever.
Yeah, sure.
Want my Coke? It's okay, you can have it.
No.
Really, you can have it.
Okay.
And a smile makes me feel good, makes me feel nice.
Be around.
That's the way it should be. I like to see
Hey, kid.
the whole world smiling with me. Coca-Cola as life. Have a Coke and
Thanks, Mean Joe.
smile.
I love that ad. Here, have my stinky, sweaty jersey, kid. No, that's sports memorabilia. And I'm a Steelers fan, by the way. I love Mean Joe Green, Franco Harris, God, all those guys. Of course, the great quarterback Terry Bradshaw. Not just then, now too. Even Ben Roethlisberger. He's had issues. I know he's probably a pig in real life, but I love the Steelers. That's my pro team. And a lot of people are kind of down on the NFL, but I'm still going to support them. And I live in Atlanta. You know, I used to like when I was a kid the Barkowski Falcons. You know, I liked Falcons of the past, but even Jeff George is quarterback. But I don't know, man. The current team just doesn't have it, man. I don't think the leadership is all there. So I've always been a Steelers fan. There's pictures of me in my Steelers coat, even though I never lived in Pennsylvania. I have been to Pennsylvania a few times in my life, but I do support the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, by the way, they were reunited. Mean Joe Green and that kid in that ad, they were reunited in January 2016 to promote Super Bowl 50. And in Roman numerals, that's L, not L as in loser, L as in large, like a large t-shirt size. But let me play a little clip here of the reunion of these two. Let's see if I can get it to work, folks. Thanks for bearing with me.
In 1979, an NFL legend and a 9-year-old boy created one of the greatest commercials in Super Bowl history. Now, 36 years later, we're reuniting the Steeler and the kid.
No way.
Right here on this field today.
It's great to see
Good seeing you, man. Good seeing you.
Been too long. How are you?
Golly, look at you.
Yeah.
I don't have to look down here anymore.
Somehow I look older than you now. I don't know what happened.
Why do people connect with this commercial? He was the magic.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. I think the people that created it wrote a great commercial that really tells a story.
I just want you to know, I think you're the best ever.
Yeah, sure.
I think one of the reasons maybe the commercial was so successful is that commercial is kind of what Joe is. Tough football player who's a nice guy.
When we did the commercial, my kids were close to Tommy's age. And I always looked at him as one of those guys.
Thanks, Mean Joe.
That's pretty cool. And by the way, that Super Bowl that I referenced back in 2016, Super Bowl 50, the Denver Broncos won that one, if you were wondering. And they defeated the Carolina Panthers 24-10 that year. Hey, I've got people watching on Facebook Live. I want to acknowledge and say thanks to Eric Harris. He's right on something. Eric Harris, one of our favorite listeners of BK on the Air and the Nostalgic Podblast, says Shelley Long is just 72. She is, but she's going to be 73 on Monday. I think I said she'll be 72 on Monday. She's 72 now. That's true. And hey, Becky Ross Smith, how you doing? Anyone else out there that has classic commercials you want to talk about, please keep them coming, because what's going to happen is I'm going to play some pics of Al Hardy and Tom Williams in a minute. I'm going to play, and the reason I'm doing this, not because I like to research a lot before I do a pod blast, and I've been so busy the last couple weekends, and this weekend especially, couldn't do adequate research. And also, this is a pod blast we did a while back about classic commercials, but the clips in there are great that Tom and Al and I picked. So it's not dated, and I'm going to be right here with you live, and then we'll come back live. It's about 90 minutes long. However, if you want to call in or comment, I will stop the tape. I will stop the tape if you call in 770-438-1050 and want to talk about commercials or the Jeopardy situation or anything pop culture related. If you want to talk about the Mike Richards stepping down situation, which really angers me because I thought for once they got it right. They picked the best host aside from Ken Jennings. Ken Jennings was my top pick. But it just seems like there's an agenda driven by LeVar Burton himself. And I don't care about race, religion, creed. I really don't. I just don't like someone who's not that good as host. He's a phenomenal actor in person. He's a good person reading Rainbow, Star Trek The Next Generation, on down the line. He's a good person. You can just tell he's a good person. But I don't think he was that great as a host of Jeopardy. His eyes were bugging out and everything. And I think he's too old. Anyway, feel free to call in. Let's talk about commercials now. I want to play you a cigarette ad. I'm not condoning smoking. I'm really not. But I love this jingle of Viceroy cigarettes. And this is from a 16 millimeter film in my film collection. I'll hold it up for the camera as it's playing. But I had this actually thanks to someone who is pretty famous in local Atlanta radio. he found a way to convert 16 millimeter film digitally where you wouldn't see a flicker, and it has good audio and all that stuff. And I don't know if he wants to be named, but I will name him. Larry Wax, Larry WACHS, as he likes to be called, converted this for me. And what was in it for him was he got a copy of this footage. And I have a lot of rare films. He hasn't seen anything yet. But this was a while back when he had a little more time on his hands. But let me play for you from my personal collection. And I put this on one of my 2 YouTube channels, Chance Acting Demo, DEMO, Chance Acting Demo, all one word. You can see this commercial, but it's great audio because it's a cool jingle. And let's listen to this from January 18th, 1965, during The Fugitive.
They're riding and roping, working the range, yippee-I, yippee-oh-I. Then the Viceroy smoke for the taste that's right, right any time of the day. This is the good taste you always get when you smoke the Viceroy way. 'Cause the Viceroy smoke's got the taste that's right, right any time of the day.
Viceroy is the filter cigarette blended with natural flavor fresheners to enrich and improve true tobacco taste. That's why Viceroy tastes rich, good, rewarding any time you light up.
800 head home in the corral. Now is the time when you say, give me a Viceroy smoke. It's got the taste that's right.
Right any time of the day. I love that. That is from an episode of The Fugitive titled This'll Kill You, which guest starred Mickey Rooney and Nita Talbot. Nita Talbot's still alive. Mickey Rooney is not. But that was a season 3 episode of The Fugitive. Promised I'd hold it up before the camera, and here it is. Oh, geez. I don't have it taped properly. Look at all this film. Thanks, Larry. No, it's my fault. This is the film print. It does not smell like vinegar. When a film starts smelling like vinegar, that's a sign it's about to go bad. Not all films do go vinegar. The agents used to color films, like the Technicolor doesn't generally mess up too bad color-wise. It's the best color you can get, but there's a Fuji film stock. There's labs that process film. Anyway, this is the actual film you just heard, and it's got all the original commercials from January 18th, 1965 of an episode of The Fugitive called This'll Kill You, including that Viceroy ad. Now, moving on, I think we should get to some of Al and Tom's picks here in a sec. Getting back to Madonna, I had another joke. Madonna ought to have, she ought to have a warning label. She ought to have a warning label on her underwear, like a McDonald's sign says over 1 billion served. Ba-dum-bum. Albums, that is. Albums, of course. No, I'm sorry. All right. Let's get on and listen to, let's get on. That segue there. Let's get on with listening to the classic commercials that Tom and Al Hardy and Tom Williams picked out right now. And we'll be
now
back.
a word from our sponsor.
I can't believe I ate that whole thing.
You ate it, Ralph.
I can't believe I ate that whole thing.
No, Ralph, I ate it.
I can't believe I ate that whole thing.
Take 2 Alka-Seltzer.
You ate it, Ralph.
Alka-Seltzer neutralizes all the acid your stomach has churned out. For your upset stomach and headache, take Alka-Seltzer and feel better fast.
Did you drink your Alka-Seltzer?
The whole thing.
Hey, fellas, you know what time it is?
It's time for the NOSTALGIC Podcast!
Podblast time! Let's go!
Well, that was just wonderful, wasn't it? Well, that was just a wonderful start, I will say.
That's okay.
Listen. We're going to talk about commercials and stuff like that. But I got to say, Atlanta traffic sucks.
It's terrible.
2 hours in
It's terrible.
traffic. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had to say that. Atlanta traffic sucks and it's getting worse. I don't know what we can do about it. Helicopters? Where's those flying cars?
Jetpacks.
Where's it? Yeah, but where's those flying cars we're supposed to have? I mean, come on.
Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Part 2.
I mean, we're supposed to have the flying cars, but no, we don't have the flying cars. And again, Al's not tracking my computer, but that's the way it goes with Al's engineering.
No, it's tracking.
No, it's not. I just hit something and it didn't play.
Well, it's up.
It played here, but it didn't play over there. But that's okay, because that's the way it goes sometimes on the big podcast. So, Chance, set it up. Tell us what we're doing.
Well, we're talking about classic commercials, as you just alluded to, but specifically, we're going to have a whole block about cigarette commercials that have been banned from TV since 1969. I don't remember seeing cigarette commercials. That was before my time, but I have a huge film library. I raided my vault. Took me 6 hours to find these clips. Now, some of these clips are going to be longer than normal, but we'll get to that later because for editing purposes, one block is like 8 minutes long of nothing but cigarette commercials. The rest are about 5 minutes. We'll space them out, but we'll get to cigarette commercials later. We want to talk about classic commercials that you may or may not remember for products that you do know, like Coca-Cola,
Pepsi-Cola.
Alka-Seltzer, which is what we opened the show with.
Yeah. Oh, man, yeah. I remember.
Remember the Jolly Green Giant?
Well, of course, you got that too.
Yeah.
But
him and his hose, yeah.
But, you know, you got to go back to the very beginning, because back, commercials came out way before there was television. And, of course, radio thrived off it, because all the shows, the Red Network, the Blue Network, Mutual Broadcasting, all of the major radio networks, they thrived off commercially sponsored shows. You know, Rinso brings you the Amos and Andy show, or Jell-O, Jack Benny.
When you didn't have to pay for radio.
Well, that's true. Yeah, it's true. But what was really cool about them is when they worked the commercial into the show. And they actually, a lot of shows, especially Benny, made fun of them. And it was even funnier. And that was probably the first instance where you did kind of what you call joke commercials that people remembered.
And there was even a program, U.S. Steel Hour, was it, before my time?
Yes.
And
yeah.
that was, of course, a product. U.S. Steel, is it still around?
I don't know that they're still around in that entity, because, you know, when the steel industry kind of died off, I think they went away. But I think they're back. But a really good example of playing off of commercials and then turning them around and making them into jokes was on the Kraft Music Hall with Bing Crosby and Al Jolson as a guest. And they were supposed to sing a commercial for Philco live, and somewhere along the way it all went awry, and it's hysterical. And I'm going to play you that clip in just a second. But what happens is they get off in the wrong key, and Jolson continues to try, but Bing stops him. And it's just hysterical. The audience is going crazy. And just have a listen. Here it is.
You'll make friends of every stranger
With a Philco record changer.
from the table size
To those that weigh a ton.
or to make your life ecstatic.
We can't be too emphatic.
Get that brand new automatic
1201.
Here it comes.
Take it.
Yes, for jazz or operatic.
In a ballroom or an attic.
Get the simple but dramatic 1201. And remember, folks, F is for fashion, fidelity, or fame.
F is for fabulous, as you know.
Oh, man, we're cooked, Al. Let's see, should we take another roll out?
Let's start over.
Let's
On the
start
top.
over. F is for Where do you want to go from?
We'll make friends of every You'll make friends of every stranger
With a Philco record changer.
from the table size
To those that weigh a ton.
or to make your life ecstatic.
And we can't be too emphatic.
Get that brand new automatic
1201.
Yes, yes, for jazz or operatic.
See, it's great.
Oh.
Jazz or operatic. That's good, Bill. In a ballroom or an attic. That's where we're going, in an attic.
Yes. King's Warehouse gets us in the morning.
Get the simple but dramatic 1201.
And remember, folks, let me hear that chord. I got it now.
Good.
F is for fashion, fidelity, or fame.
S is for fabulous, as you know.
First with the finest,
is spelled with an F. And Philco, you spell P-H-I-L-C-O, P-H-I-L-C-O, you spell P-H-I-L-C-O without an F.
Anyway, that's about it. You can figure it out. So that's a classic. That's from 1947.
Wait a minute, Tom. Who's Al Jolson?
Al Jolson was the world's greatest entertainer. Now, back then, you got to remember.
Well, that's pretty broad. I mean, what's he known for?
Yeah.
I was thinking he was in Amos and Andy, and I'm wrong.
No, not at all. No, not at all. He was known for singing. He was known for his early movie roles with Ruby Keeler and the like. And he was before Crosby. He was the first great crooner. But his biggest claim to fame was he was the first talking. He had the first talking motion picture, the Jazz Singer.
1927.
The talkie then, right?
Vitaphone.
1927.
Yeah,
Yep.
And which is
Wasn't
where
he
they had.
controversial though? Didn't he do blackface?
Well,
or
he was
something?
controversial blackface along with Eddie Cantor, but back then they all did minstrel shows and things like that, which were back then was
minstrel
just
shows.
minstrel
I know what a
shows.
minstrel cycle is. What's a minstrel show?
No, you can't say that. Whoa.
No,
But anyway,
I mean, is it like vaudeville or something?
well,
or-
it's minstrel shows was kind of even a little bit before vaudeville or part of vaudeville. They had minstrel shows, but everyone appeared in blackface, and they had the fancy outfits with the big lapels and the big giant bow ties, and they would go and they'd tell jokes and sing a song, tell jokes and sing a song. It's crazy. But there were several major traveling minstrel shows that started out, and Jolson was part of it. And I want to say the guy's name was Eddie Carroll. I could be wrong about that, but Eddie Carroll's minstrel shows, and it was the big thing back then. And they toured the circuit, is what it was called. All the local theaters, the townships, etc. And Jolson, excuse me, was a big part of that because he had an amazing voice back then. But he was known as the world's greatest entertainer because he did recordings, he did movies, he acted, he was everything. So back then they coined him as the world's greatest entertainer, and he liked it too. He had an ego as big as a house, but that's okay. He was also funny, and he also could make fun of himself. But that's not what this show's about. We're going to get into old time radio. Believe me, we will have to do several shows on old time radio because old time radio is too vast of a subject. If you thought monsters,
that'll wake Al up. Old time radio.
If you thought monsters was a big subject, old time radio. I've got so much to say about old. Well, sure, everybody does, but there's so much to be said about it. It's not even funny. But getting back to the original thing about commercials, the sponsors would sponsor an entire show, okay, and the sponsor ruled over the shows back then as to what the content was going to be. If they didn't like something you said, or if they didn't like somebody in the show, you're gone. I mean, unless you were the major star, of course. But back then they ruled, and this is an example of what we just played with Jolson and Crosby of them making fun, probably one of the first instances of the talent getting away with making fun of the product and the name, because come on, Philco was a very big radio name back then. I know Zenith was too, of course, but Philco was big. They sponsored the whole dang show, the Bing Crosby show. Now, he was a big name back then.
I've got a question, Tom. Now, the standards and practices, that's where censorship would come into play in these old shows?
Yes.
Did that have something to do with the sponsors maybe leaning on the network and for the reasons you just described, where they would get rid of a star if they didn't like them, or they had a lot of control over the creativity?
Yes, yeah, but usually the censorship things in the radio was not as big as it was with television.
Right. And I know about comic books, too. We'll talk about that in another podcast, the Comics Code Authority, based on the book Seduction of the Innocent.
Sure.
That's a whole
congressional.
We'll talk later.
But did they have code authorities for TV commercials?
Well, yeah. Well, they had to go. If you remember,
The seal of good. What was
correct,
it? Yeah,
correct.
the TV seal.
If
That's
you remember
what
the
it was.
TV seal for good homogenized entertainment,
right.
if you want to call it. This is back when Ron Kirk was really young and watching television, right, Ron? Ron's probably watching this right now. But anyway, the code of conduct was kind of booted out the window about the time, again, Ron Kirk was on the air with the Tush Show. Because you used to see that at the end of shows. You would see it at the end of the Twilight Zone. you'd see at the end of the outer limits.
yes.
Well, they
And
got
you'd
that
see-
seal.
Yeah, the seal.
Yeah, the little TV.
But that kind of went out the door, even though the censorship was still there. But getting back to the commercial, that commercial, some of that probably was scripted. Okay, I don't deny that, but some of it was not.
Yeah,
that I do know.
ad-libbing.
And exactly, because Jolson loved Crosby. Crosby loved Jolson because Jolson was Crosby's mentor in a way. He really looked up to Jolson, even though Jolson had a big ego. But let me put it this way. Crosby had many shows, radio shows back then. He would actually have Jolson on the following week as well. You don't do that.
And he had a band too.
Yeah, you don't do that. So it's kind of like,
Stills, Nash and Young and Crosby.
Oh, that's not
Yeah!
No, John.
We don't need a laugh track.
No, John Scott Trotter was his orchestra leader back then. But anyway, I digress. But the Philco commercial, that's just one small example of commercials in early radio when the sponsors literally controlled the show. Now, when TV started coming along, they kind of did that too. And
yeah, they did.
They really did.
I read a lot of books about it. It's awful,
but and you look at it like all of them on the credits had the sponsor's name or the logo of the sponsor on
and
the
they did.
credits.
But what you probably don't realize when Pete and Gladys and some of the early television shows came along, I'm talking about the 50s now, late 40s, early 50s. The sponsor commercials, they weren't 30 seconds.
Oh, no.
They were as long as 2, 3, sometimes even 4 minutes.
Jackie
long.
Gleason show, they would have a live commercial all the time.
But did you hear what I just said? 2,
Yes.
3, 4 minutes,
Yeah.
one commercial.
Yeah.
The one they had car commercials.
In lieu of a big,
Yeah.
a lot of breaks.
And car commercials were the big thing. Ford and Chevrolet, they sponsored.
Oh yeah,
You
My
could
Three Sons sponsored by Chevrolet,
Yeah,
for instance.
exactly.
Bewitched.
Dinah Shore for
I've got a clip
Chevrolet.
later. We'll play of Bewitched sponsored by Chevrolet from
Yeah.
a film print I've got that I transferred. Yeah.
Exactly. And My Three Sons, for instance, you can see Fred McMurray driving a Chevy Corvair.
Always
one of them.
Chevys, yeah.
Stuff like that.
When it was
But-
on ABC.
Yeah.
And it was Hunt's Ketchup sponsored My Three Sons.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But shame they don't have a clever jingle. We would have it.
Uh-huh.
But they don't. But the thing, and plus Heinz is a better ketchup anyway.
Everybody knows that.
But the funny thing about the commercials back then, they even in television they actually ruled the roost, because when they bought sponsorship on a show, they didn't want to share it, but it got so expensive to where the first half of the show was sponsored by this person, the second half was sponsored by somebody else. Now, it may have been the same corporate sponsor. Like you might see Carnation Milk at the beginning, and you might see some other same corporately owned commercial at the end, which kind of confuses you. You go, man, there's two separate sponsors. No, they were owned by the same corporate entity. So they just spread the wealth, spread the advertising throughout them.
But TV commercials, they were 30 seconds, and that's it. They would go to a break, do a 30-second commercial, come back into the show.
An hour program would be 51 minutes, 30 seconds long in length without commercials. These days, it's 42 minutes. So
And,
everything
well,
has to be
half-hour
cut in
shows
syndication.
ran 28.
25.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
28,
in the
30.
golden age of
Yeah,
TV,
yeah,
correct.
28,
but in
30.
in the 60s, I know a half-hour show was 25 minutes, 30 seconds without sans commercials there.
Right.
But you said something very interesting, Al, about the product being in the end credits, and I have a lot of film prints.
Al never says anything interesting.
I don't know about that.
I'm going to come across the con.
I've got a
see. Here's the thing. Wait. Here's another point, everybody. I'm tracking a sound clip, and Al doesn't even have me up.
Now you're up.
No, it's too late now. It's already come and gone. The moment has come and gone. Let me do that again. Al never really has anything clever to say. Oh, thank you. Anyway.
So anyway, I'm just real quick. I have a print of, say, I Dream of Jeannie, and there'll be a pack of cigarettes in the end credits. And when it went to syndication, they obviously removed the sponsor. Sometimes there'll be an obvious, like what I call an airbrush, where they literally painted it out. I've got a lot of shows like that, like The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis. It'll have a pack of
they
cigarettes
took the cigarette
or
stuff
flour.
out.
You know,
They
what's that,
brushed the
gold
cigarette
flour,
stuff
gold-
out.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, they did that. They actually redid the credits for all the syndicated shows. Obviously, sometimes they made it through. For instance, even the and I hate to keep using My Three Sons as an example, but you can watch them on MeTV right now, and you'll see the Chevy cars at the end of the.
That's right, and they're
credits.
using film prints because they only released on DVD the first 2 seasons, and they had, by the way, horrible music replacement.
Yeah.
But Yeah, they're using not 35 millimeter. They're using old 16
Sure
millimeter
they are.
prints to this day on MeTV.
And some they get from collectors.
Of My Three Sons seasons 3 through 5, which were black and white
Right,
seasons, because they already had in syndication season 6, the first CBS season in color, through season 10, and they recently added season 11 and 12 for the first time in generations.
Exactly.
And those are from film as well.
But
Anyway.
some of them will sneak through every once in a while. Like I said, the Fred McMurray, and then there's some others that I've seen that had post serials or post at the lower left-hand corner. You'll see an image of Dick Van Dyke on a Dick Van Dyke show. Then you'll see an Ivory soap pop up, and they don't catch it because it costs money to fix it. So why fix it? Just let it go.
And speaking of Dick Van Dyke, later in this very pod blast, you'll hear a cigarette commercial for Kent with Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore. And, of course, later Dick Van Dyke became an advocate against cigarettes with the American Cancer Society.
Well, you look at old movies, and they smoked all the time.
Yeah,
It was
wait till you hear
cool,
the
know?
cigarette ads in the latter half of this pod blast. It'll be very interesting. It's funny how they tried to brainwash people into thinking cigarettes were good.
That's right, it did.
Law and Order?
I thought it was something else. Sorry, my
He thought it
mistake.
was funny. My favorite cigarette
He
commercial.
probably thought it
though,
was,
was
shut up! Shut up!
That's the shut up.
That's like, my favorite cigarette commercial was Winston. I love the jingle.
And we're going to hear that later today.
Tastes good like a cigarette.
That's my favorite cigarette jingle. We'll
Okay,
get to
so
it
I
later.
interjected with the radio.
Get to the
some of radio
cigarettes.
stuff. Again, the radio stuff we can cover at a later time.
We will.
But I just want to start with historically, what the mainstream media did, had all these commercial sponsors that weighed such a heavy hammer on the shows that they sponsored, and then it obviously migrated into television the same way. And now these days, the sponsor doesn't have that kind of clout anymore. I mean, at all, unless it's one of those cable shows, those actuality shows or something like that. Maybe they might have a little bit more clout there. But when was the last time you saw a reality/actuality show that had one big giant corporate sponsor? I don't think you have. It takes many sponsors now, so they don't wield that kind of a power any longer that I'm aware of. So where do we want to start, Chance? As far as where are we going to start first?
Al, why don't you interject? Where do you want to take us?
Well, I like the soft drink commercials.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, play one. Let's hear it.
Yeah. Okay. You want to hear one here? Let's listen to this one right here.
These catchy jingles and songs.
Taste that beats the others cold. Pepsi pours it on. Anytime a thirst takes hold, Pepsi pours it on.
Oh, it does.
Put the energy back. Put your thirst on this one. Pepsi-Cola, the one that doesn't lose its cool when you serve it cold. Keeps its great taste no matter how cold you drink it. Pepsi, put it to the taste.
Pepsi's got that special taste created for the cold. The cold turns on that Pepsi drive, makes Pepsi-Cola come alive. Taste that beats the others cold. Pepsi pours it on.
I love that jingle.
Yeah.
Not too popular in Atlanta where we record this pod blast. This is Coke country.
Well,
and
you
I'm
know.
drinking a Pepsi.
Nope.
I'm pretty un-American, man. I prefer Pepsi over Coke. And I know a lot of people are going to hate me for saying that, but I don't care.
Well, Tom told me before the podcast that he
like-
he liked the Supremes. He's a big fan of the Supremes, and this was a good one too. Listen to this.
Here come those something else Supremes.
Nope,
nope, nope, nope, nope.
That make the difference. It's the little things that make the difference. Like holding hands while we're dancing, sweet romancing, tender glancing, listening to music while fire glows, sipping coke when lights are low. It's the little things that put extra fun in you and me. And everyone, things go better with fun
I like those jingles.
But the Coke commercial I remember most is the Mean Joe Green commercial, and I think one of you guys has that. I would like to hear some of that.
All right, let's play that too.
I already played
That's
it.
my favorite Coke commercial.
That's only if Al will track the computer.
Mr. Green,
Yeah.
you need any help? I just want you to know, I think you're the best ever.
Yeah, sure.
Want my Coke? It's okay, you can have it.
No.
Take it.
Really, you can have it.
Okay.
A Coke and a smile makes me feel good. Makes me feel nice. Be around. That's the way it should be.
Poor kid.
I like to see.
Hey, kid.
The whole world is smiling with me. Coca-Cola as life. Have a Coke and
Thanks, Mean Joe.
smile.
Yeah, but
That's a good. That's a good one. It's good. It's good, but it's not as
It's good. And they should have tied it in with like Speed Stick, because that thing must have been sweaty and stinky. And I digress. Continuing.
The Supremes.
No, the Supremes suck.
Please.
But
Diana Ross is a B word.
Well,
Bye, Menon.
Again, I work
she's
with her.
just
She's
a
the
diva.
biggest diva. She's a
All right,
pain in the
she's
butt.
talented as hell.
I can't stand them, but anyway, that's beside the point. Al was being very sarcastic when he said that. But Mean Joe Green, he threw him a sweaty sweatshirt. His jersey. Poor kid.
How about I like to teach the world to sing on perfect harmony? You don't like that one either, do you?
I hate that.
I don't mind.
But you're probably going to play
Play
it,
it.
aren't you?
No, I don't
Play
have
it.
that
No,
one ready.
play it.
No,
Play it.
I don't have it ready. I don't have it.
That's good. I'm glad you don't have it ready. And so does that guy. He's glad you don't have it ready. So, Al, that pretty much means...
Doing research for this Podblast, I was looking at old 80s commercials of like Taco Bell, for instance, and it's amazing how much better food looked in the 1980s commercials.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it just shows you how these companies have cut back with their ingredients and things. Like the tacos in the old Taco Bell commercials were huge, and you could tell it was like real beef. Now, I'm not saying they don't use real beef. I'm not saying it's people that's in the tacos these days. But I'm just saying, look at an old just look up on YouTube Taco Bell commercial 1980s and look at the food. It looks absolutely delicious.
Well,
compared to today.
Speaking of, commercials
put a
with,
fart sound in it.
with music in it, like the Supremes and the Fortunes did Coca-Cola and that sort of stuff. And Joni Summers did Pepsi. You're in the Pepsi generation. She sang that one.
I like
But
that.
have you noticed lately on TV commercials they're using songs from the 60s? On commercials today. I saw one.
Got them cheap. It's all about the Benjamins, man.
I saw one yesterday
domain,
for Applebee's, and they used Hot Chocolate, You Sexy Thing. I believe in miracles.
I mean, that's been going on for a while. I mean, that's just selling out.
but
and they probably got it for
like Queen is everywhere now in commercials. And to this day, now they've used a lot of Queen songs. I don't know why a car manufacturer hasn't done this song "I'm in Love with My Car," which is one of their big hits off Night at the Opera album, 1975, which is the album that had Bohemian Rhapsody. Anyway,
who knows?
that would be perfect for a commercial, and I've not heard that used.
No, it really would be.
Well, that probably will be used.
Are you familiar with that song? "I'm in Love with My Car"?
I'm not familiar
Okay,
with that song.
it's catchy and it's
And-
good.
and that-
It was a B-side song, but it's a good song.
But then the other soft drink companies had to fire back at Coke and Pepsi, like
The Cola Wars.
Yeah, and 7-Up had a really cool campaign that they took the regular, like the classic Coke glass, the hourglass type of glass, it's thin at the bottom, wide at the top, and they flipped it upside down and made the thin part on the top and made the flat part at the bottom. And they just called it the Uncola.
The Uncola.
I remember
that.
But do you
Like
remember,
uncool.
Well, do you remember the most famous Uncola commercial?
There was a 7-Up commercial I really liked. I don't know the guy who did it, but he was sitting in a chair.
Yep.
This black guy.
Yeah.
And
He was in Live and Let Die.
Yeah.
And he had that great voice.
He had a great voice.
Yeah,
Play it.
I don't have
I'm
it.
just putting you on the spot because I know you don't. But
All right, here it is.
These are cola nuts. They grow here. They're used to make cola-flavored soft drinks. These, on the other hand, are uncola nuts. They grow here too. But as you can see, they're a bit different from cola nuts. Rather larger for one thing. Rather juicier too, I'd say. Marvelous little things, uncola nuts. We use them, of course, to make the Uncola 7-Up. It's the uncooler nut that helps give the uncooler its je ne sais quoi, you know, fresh, clean taste, no aftertaste, wet, wild, all that. Marvelous, absolutely marvelous. Just try making something like that out of a cola nut. Why, it's even prettier than a cola. Nuttier than a cola, actually.
That's the great Jeffrey Holder. Now he was an actor. He was a great actor.
I
too.
think he's passed away.
He
too.
did.
Yeah.
Yep, that's correct. He passed away in 2014, October 2014, and he was a great actor. He was. You might know him from the movie Live and Let Die.
Yep.
He was in that movie, and he was great in that movie.
That's one of my favorite Bond songs by Paul McCartney.
McCartney wrote that, and it was a really good movie. But Jeffrey Holder, he put 7-Up on the map even more so with that, because that ad campaign was wonderful. He did more than one of those kind of commercials anyway.
Well, do we see 7-Up commercials anymore? I don't.
No, as a matter of fact,
you just don't see
Sprite
them.
has taken over.
Well, as a matter of fact,
in the community.
Well, you see Mountain Dew more than anything else. Mountain Dew, believe it or not, Mountain Dew is everywhere. But now all these energy drinks, Monster and all these other energy drinks are taking over.
I've never had one of those.
You don't even see. I cannot think of the last time I saw a Pepsi commercial. I'm sure they're out there. You just don't see them like you used to, because what happens is they don't have to, because Coke is out there, Pepsi's out there. They've already made their name, so people know when they want a Coke, they're going to go get a Coke. When they want a Pepsi, their ad campaign has worked over the years. They don't have to advertise as fiercely as they used to, because sometimes Pepsi might get a little bit more sales a month or so, and then Coke will overtake them again, and then Coke will come out with another smaller ad campaign. Like at all the restaurants now, they have these machines that give you all these different kinds of Coke flavors.
They call it freestyle.
Yeah. So
Hate it.
Yeah, I know, but still,
it's convenient, but it doesn't taste as good.
It's
anyway.
Yeah, but it's a great campaign. But anyway,
it is.
So you don't see it as much as you used to. Just based on the fact, I don't think they have to as much as they used to.
Well, you have wars like I'll say like Arby's chain, for instance. They had Coke, then they had Pepsi. So there's some really creative, like genius ad rep
It
out
depends
there
on what kind of deal they get.
Yeah,
exactly, it's all about money.
Yeah, but then PepsiCo bought out KFC. You're not
Right.
going to see Coke in KFC.
Yeah,
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the other thing about Coke,
and movie theaters too.
yeah, well,
exclusive.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And the other thing about the Coke is, especially Coke, there are all these corporate sponsors for concerts,
And they
events,
own arenas, dude.
Festivals.
Yeah.
It's brought to you by Coke. So you'll see the Coke banners everywhere.
Right.
I was in Chattanooga. Coke banners were everywhere.
Here in Atlanta at SunTrust Park, I know you've been this season. I've been to a couple games. If you look at
Truist
SunTrust
Park
Park
now.
or any major league ballpark, it's all a bunch of doggone commercials. You can't even hardly see the score of the game or stats or the strikeouts. It's really ridiculous, man. I see Equifax on the outfield wall. Everyone listening to this knows what Equifax did. Anyway, I digress.
And I see Comcast.
Compromising.
Comcast is there too.
Yeah.
Comcast is
Xfinity.
dropping a lot of channels. You know that?
And Comcast customer service so bad they had to change the name of the company to Xfinity.
Well, the cable companies have to. Here we go, pod blasting to another subject, but
to another dimension.
But the reason they have to do that is because the carriage rights keep going up. ABC wants this much, and CBS wants this much, Weather Channel wants this much, and they don't want to pay that anymore because they don't feel they have to.
And so carriers drop networks all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you know that Comcast dropped TCM? And if you call Comcast, they say, if you're calling about
They'll get it
TCM,
back.
press this number.
See, that's all negotiation.
They
they're not
dropped
gonna
it because
drop. It'll
they
be
want,
dropped for like
they
a few
want too
days.
much money to carry the service.
Exactly.
Now, Tom works in the business.
That's what it is.
He's an employee of the Weather Channel, so I don't want to cut too close to home.
No.
Or
well, FiOS.
talk about something that gets you in trouble.
They were in a carriage thing about FiOS, Verizon FiOS up in New York. So Weather Channel just recently started reappearing back in New York because they finally got it together, but it took them almost 2 years, I think.
I've never heard it going that long. That's wild.
I neither, but I want to say it took about 2 years. But anyway, it doesn't matter. They finally got it, so now we're back on in Verizon FiOS up north in Virginia, New York, Washington area. And it took them a while to figure out how they were going to make it happen, but they did. They finally made it happen, which is a good thing for everybody.
When did the Weather Channel start?
Oh gosh, you're asking me something I don't. I'm not privy to that knowledge, but it started a very long time ago.
It's a brilliant concept because it's
started-
not polarizing.
No.
You know, it's something everyone wants to get updated
Yeah.
on. I mean, now, true, we have it in our phones like everything else. You
Yeah.
have a calculator in your phone, you have your weather.
Oh, sure.
But
sure.
I found the Weather Channel to be very accurate.
It is.
And I know, Seidel, he's one of the on-air
There's another
people.
one called
Yep.
Weather Nation,
Well,
I
through-
believe. Yeah, I think.
through a
Weather,
friend.
Weather Channel is the biggest.
Yeah, but they're just a thumbnail.
What was the guy that started Weather Channel? It was John.
Yes.
He used to be on Good Morning America. He
Well,
did
was
the
out
weather.
Of Chicago. He was out of Chicago.
Yeah, he did the weather.
Anyway, moving on to what we're here to talk about with the commercials. Again, the Coke battles and everything. We can talk about that all day long, but I don't want to because those idiots are, excuse me, did I say idiots? Those bozos. Oh, did I say bozos?
Coke Wars.
Are already rich enough as it is. They don't need our help.
You just inspired a new topic, the late night wars, for another pod blast.
No, absolutely, because there's so much there.
Lots
It's not even
to talk
funny.
about.
It's
Lots
not
of
even-
clips, too.
Lots of stuff to talk
Yeah.
about the stuff like that, especially the latest Conan O'Brien debacle. But we won't go there.
Okay, the Weather Channel. This is Chance cutting in live. The Weather Channel it launched May 2nd, 1982. The Weather Channel is an American paid television channel owned by Weather Group, LLC, a subsidiary of Allen Media Group. The channel's headquarters are in Atlanta, Georgia, right down the road from me, actually, in Cobb County, in the Atlanta metropolitan suburbs. And it broadcasts weather forecasts, as we all know, and weather-related news and analysis, along with documentaries and entertainment programming related to weather. A sister network, Weather Scan, which I like, also, is a digital cable and satellite service that offers 24-hour automated local forecasts and radar imagery. I really like that. My Comcast Xfinity service dropped that, but that was my go-to channel. I think it was channel 212 for years, and you could see like the live radar. It was really cool, and it was part of the Weather Channel. It was great. So the Weather Channel was a subsidiary of the Weather Company until the latter was bought by IBM in 2016. IBM, man, that's a old school name right there. The Weather Channel licenses its weather data from IBM. Okay, there's the connection. As of September 2018, the Weather Channel was received by approximately 79.128 million households that subscribe to pay television service throughout the United States. So there you have it. That's your background of the Weather Channel. Wow. And the owner, it says, is Landmark Communications. Oh, this is back in 1982 to 2008. They are the previous former owners. Yeah. So there you go. So let me get back to Alan, Tom, and I talking about classic. And the cigarette commercials are coming up. I did not string you along. Some great, from my film collection, here's some great cigarette commercials from the 50s and 60s. Some that were live and some that were not live, but they're all great, in my opinion.
He's the only one I like on late night.
Yeah, he's hardly there anymore.
I know, he's
so-
only 30 minutes.
He's gone now.
Enjoy him while you can.
He's retired
Game
now.
on TBS.
Yes.
Hour, half hour, hour.
Yeah.
But what's cool about Conan, though, is he goes on the road a lot in other countries, for
Yeah,
goodness
yeah,
sakes.
that's
And
great. He's popular.
San
over there.
Diego Comic-Con, yeah. So
And he's really popular.
we like Conan.
So
He
what-
should have got to the night show.
So let's move. Well, he did have it.
Well, they
He
took
did
it
have
away
it.
from him.
Oh, he did
You're
have
going to
it for a
get
while.
Tom on the soapbox, but yeah, that's
Yeah,
another
so
subject.
Get me off the soapbox. So let's don't talk. I thought Conan was doing a very good job hosting the Tonight Show. I thought he was off to a good start. It was funny. It was cutting edge stuff. He was just on top of his game, I thought. And for them to not, the typical NBC MO is not give a show enough time to settle with its fan base, et cetera, et cetera.
Seinfeld
I did a
got
show.
yanked, yeah.
I did a show with Ron Reagan Jr. and Monica Crawley, and it was doing really good in the ratings. It was starting to really get an audience, and we were going to go on twice a day, and at 1 o'clock, and then back again at 4 or 5 o'clock, twice a day. And then, wow, that's great. We're going to do it twice a day. That's fantastic. And next thing we know, they pulled the plug on the whole show.
The Suits.
Yeah, they did.
And see, there'll be a change in management, and I have a brilliant idea.
It's
The new
always-
guy thinks they're going to be a trailblazer.
Yeah.
And then they monkey with something that doesn't need to be effed with.
It seems like NBC
They muck it up.
or NBC's MO is
They're notorious for
give
making bad decisions.
Yeah, they give it 6 months. If it doesn't do anything in 6 months, they pull the plug on it or do something with it.
Real quick about NBC, I don't get this about them. They hired Ice-T, who had a song called Cop Killer.
Really?
They didn't, the network didn't, but the casting director picked him to play a cop on Law and Order. It's been on, 21, 22 seasons?
Yeah.
It's just ironic to me. Mr.
Well, he's
Cop
a good
Killer.
actor.
Yeah.
He is a good actor.
Yeah.
So we don't want to,
I'm still
alienate our audience. I try not to talk about politics and
I'm
stuff
still
like
pissed
that.
that Al's mic sounds so much better than mine, but that's beside the point.
You've got microphone envy.
Anyway. Yeah,
like
that's
penis envy with women. No.
So Al, quit playing with that stupid computer over there. Who cares? What are you doing?
Did you share your
So,
Facebook
Al-
Live on your personal page, Mr. Hardy?
Al, where are we going next? Al, because you're not paying attention, I'm going to ask you where
What'd
we're
you say?
going next.
Al. All right.
I'm here. What you want?
Al, because you're not paying attention, I want to ask you where are we going next, Al?
Well, Chance has all of these cigarette commercials.
Yeah, but all right, yeah, I do. And I spent, as I mentioned before, 6 hours compiling this from my vast film library. And I made sure this isn't stuff that's on YouTube. This is stuff, except for one or two, that are not currently on YouTube. So now listen, guys, I want to brace the audience.
Here you go.
And the Facebook Live
Some of
viewers-
these run long, but I don't think we're going to run all
No,
of them.
yes. Well, we'll talk about it. Look, I can see why there's creative differences that ruin friendships and ruin shows. And this is a classic example. We've been arguing all day
We
about
fight
how long
all
these
the
clips
time.
are. My argument is this Podblast is about classic commercials, okay? And I think cigarette commercials in particular are very unique because they were banned since 1969 from being on television. So this has a historical significance. So this first group is 8 minutes long.
Oh, hell no.
Sorry. But we will critique them. Tom's not heard these yet, so why don't you hit the first series of clips, and then we'll space it out. The rest are about 5 minutes long. Hit one. Let's hear clip one.
It's long.
Well,
It's long, but see, you're just...
I got one thing to say about
It's good
Oh,
stuff.
hell no.
You already said that.
Oh, hell
You're getting
no.
Alzheimer's too early.
There is nothing like a lark.
Adria Magini brought to you by Lark. He was talking over it.
Nothing like a lark. It's America's most popular new cigarette. An inner chamber of charcoal granules, a taste people really like. No wonder Lark is America's most popular new cigarette. There is nothing like a lark. It's America's most popular new cigarette. Have one.
I think I will.
Makes me want to take a hit.
In the old days at Chalk's Flying Service, only Leonard the freight man.
What the hell happened? Right when I finally get my cigarette ads going. There's a technical difficulty. Here we go.
Manager and Mrs. Franklin in the office smoked L&M's. Now Ned Ames
Let me back
has come
that
over.
up.
There is nothing like a lark. It's America's most popular new cigarette. Have one.
I think I will.
Makes me want to take a hit.
In the old days at Chalk's Flying Service, only Leonard the freight manager and Mrs. Franklin in the office smoked L&M's. Now Ned Ames has come over. When you've got today's best taste in smoking, people find out.
Come on over to the L&M side. I said, so come on over for the taste of it. And when you come on over, you'll be glad you did. Come on over to the L&M side.
What makes L&M today's best taste in smoking? Maybe it's the rich flavor leaf. Maybe it's the full body blend. Why not ask an L&M smoker? He's found out.
Come on over, you'll be glad you did. Come on over to the L&M side.
You remember that cigarette, L&M?
Yes, I do.
Hang on, here's another one. I
Al
love these
smoked
jingles. Let's see if you know.
Newports. I was born in Newport News.
Ready to try a great fresh taste?
Yes.
Try
Here's the
Newport.
salesmanship.
Mild, natural menthol, great tasting tobaccos, and white filtered.
Oh, yeah. Make your white walls go yellow.
And your teeth, too.
Throat talking machines today.
Men like this go for fine tobacco and no nonsense. That's what you get with Lucky Strike. Here's honest taste. Fresh, smooth, and unforgettable. When a man like this wants a cigarette, he goes for the genuine article. Lucky Strike. This one is what smoking was meant to be.
Never was a man who could forget the taste of a genuine cigarette. Get the honest taste a man can like. The honest taste of a Lucky Strike. The honest taste of a Lucky Strike.
It's going to drive me to smoke.
Get the honest taste of a Lucky Strike.
So that's when he got rid of the LSMFT.
Cigarette.
Yeah.
To where the flavor is. Come to Marlboro country.
I apologize for the audio quality, folks. This is from my film collection. But these things have not been seen since the 60s.
Mending fences. It's a time of chill early morning and the smell of pine trees. A time when cattle are getting the high pastures where they'll graze away the spring and summer. It all happens in Marlboro country. You get a lot tonight with a Marlboro filter flavor pack for fun.
Die of cancer.
Come to where the flavor is. Come to Marlboro country.
That's awesome.
All right, have a good time with lunch? Don Juan did.
Now, who's this?
Rob.
Look at it this way.
I look, 36, 24, 36.
The cigarette girl. She was telling me how many smokers have changed the filters.
And how popular Kent is?
And I told her how Kent satisfies them.
Oh, the repartee. What if some man asked me about Kent cigarettes? I'd leak off on me one.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's crazy.
Here comes Richard Deacon.
What are you doing? I'm hanging by my thumbs from the Brooklyn Bridge. I'm composing.
Composing? I want to shut you up, but that's the same with Kent cigarettes.
Stopping the tape. I want to apologize for the audio quality. These are from my films that I had converted. It was before Larry WACHS told me about his technique, which is much, much better. So I'm sorry about that, but this is kind of an interesting ad. This is the cast of all shows, the Dick Van Dyke Show. And of course, Dick Van Dyke went on to work with the American Cancer Society, and he was very much anti-smoking, but at this point in time, he was not. And he was promoting Kent cigarettes. That's the irony from my point of view, is that he's sitting here hawking cigarettes. Now, he redeemed himself. So, he didn't know. There were studies were not yet released showing the damage that cigarette smoke can cause to your lungs. Secondhand smoke and firsthand smoke. So this is not a commercial, not a judgment. I smoked until September 2010. That's when I quit smoking cigarettes. So I smoked for a long time. I don't preach. I have friends that smoke. I wish they would quit, but I let them live their life. They can choose to do what they want. As long as it doesn't affect me, they can smoke. I just don't like the way it smells, but, I don't have to live with them. So, to each their own. That's just the way I like to live my life. So let's get back to our show. And pretty soon this is going to be over. I think it's almost halfway over, and then we'll get back to the live stuff, the entirely live. But I'll stop. Hey, give us a call if you want to request a favorite commercial or jingle, and I'll play it for you.
wrote it, and he stole it from me already.
Come on, let's try it, Gwen.
All right. For the best combination of filter and good taste, Kent satisfies best. Hey, good tune.
Good cigarette.
Yeah, we didn't sing it so good.
Right.
Let's try again.
And Maury Epstein was a brilliant celloist.
Rob, where's the script? What are you two doing, playing games?
Shut up, Curly, we're busy.
Well, who said I don't know?
Hey, too stupid.
Mel, which of the top 10 filter brands do you think you should smoke? The one on top, Kent. The cigarette with a micronite filter.
Oh, you told him.
No, he's smarter than you think, buddy. Kent gives you the best balance of filtration and satisfying taste. Hey, Mel, would you care for a script? No, I smoke Kent. The Dick Van Dyke Show has been presented by Kent Cigarettes.
Just like you were
Kent
talking about,
with
Tom,
the
sponsorship.
micronite
Yeah,
filter.
exactly.
The cigarette that gives you filters, taste, and
Well, after all,
pleasure.
that's a micronized filter.
There's a wonderful world of softness, a wonderful world of freshness. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful world of Salem cigarettes. Salem softness freshens your taste. Oh, shit.
I just ran over a
Salem softness freshens your taste. Smoke Salem cigarettes.
Salem gives you a modern filter, plus rich tobacco taste, smooth with menthol, softened with fresh air. For Salem's special paper breathes in fresh air with every puff to bring you Salem's air-softened taste.
There's a wonderful world of softness, a wonderful world of freshness. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful world of Salem cigarettes.
Salem's softness freshens your taste.
I gotta go buy a pack right now.
For Muriel Cigars, Edie Adams. With the Kirby Stone Four.
You know who that is, Tom?
Yep,
They were
married
mighty
to.
proud after smoking
Who's she
cows,
married to?
smoked Muriel's fine cigar. Every Muriel sigh so light and mild. Try a Muriel's fine cigar. For a taste that's right and a smoke so light, get a 5-pack right away. Join the modern folks. It makes sense to smoke Muriel mild today.
There's a taste for you and a size for you in a Muriel fine cigar. Smokers everywhere say nothing can compare with a Muriel fine cigar. If you dig the theme of the hip routine, try Muriel, it's so dry.
Why don't you pick one up and smoke it sometime?
Smoke Muriel cigars,
Yeah. I think that's the way to go. Yeah. Don't you think, Al?
Well, now I want to go smoke a cigarette.
Well, listen,
Jeez.
listen, we played all that, and we have to. Play.
And there's more later, but let's.
Well, Al, we have to play this following all that. You ready?
Go ahead.
All right, gotta play.
Waiting. Come
I
on.
really wanted to make a commercial when I discovered that I was that sick and my time was so limited. I wanted to make that commercial that says simply, now that I'm gone, I tell you, don't smoke. Whatever you do, just don't smoke.
That was you.
If I could take back that smoking, we wouldn't be talking about any cancer. I'm convinced of that.
That's Yul Brynner.
Yeah, that's Yul Brynner right there talking about the evils of smoking.
That's right.
Don't smoke, whatever you do.
Don't
and now
smoke.
the government's telling us not to vape either.
Don't vape. Don't vape either. Leave it to the vampires to vape. We like to vape all the time. Oh, wait, that's vampires. Sorry. Let's talk about monsters.
I had a cigarette or an anti-cigarette commercial where a woman, you probably saw this, had something in her trachea, like in her
Yeah,
throat.
that's what I was talking about, the voice
Yeah,
box.
right. The voice, and she removes it and sticks a cigarette in her neck.
Oh, I've
Because she
seen
can't
those.
even smoke out of her
I've
mouth
seen
anymore
those.
because of all the damage she did to herself smoking cigarettes.
Well, that's what, it doesn't matter what you put in your mouth or whatever. Everything's bad for you anymore. For instance, the Pepsi Cola you're drinking, it says on the can right there in big giant letters, made with real sugar. Well, that's not good for you either.
Or your teeth.
Everything's bad for you.
You're
Wait.
Anything in moderation is good
wait.
for you as long as it's done in moderation.
Oh, wait. I agree with that.
Except for smoking.
Oh, wait, we'll get the sugar-free. Oh, but the aspartame's really bad for you, too. So it's kind of like, folks, you can't win. You can't win. That's all I can say as far as cigarettes goes. Now, the most famous cigarette commercial we didn't even play. I don't understand why you didn't play it.
You don't understand, I've got several more clips. It's probably coming. I want to hear what you're thinking of.
Well, I'm thinking of that famous cartoon.
Fred and Barney, it's coming
Fred
up.
and Barney.
The Flintstones.
Flintstones.
Unbelievable, yes.
One of the most famous clips. It's still on YouTube, even as we speak. And
that's the only one I duplicated from what's on YouTube.
And that's the one thing. That's the one thing about what we're doing today is a lot of these commercials you cannot see the visual, and that kind of sucks. And I'm sorry, but hopefully you're driving in your car or listening on your
at work,
or your listening device, whatever that may be, and you're still
working out,
able to visualize what we're talking about here with some of these commercials.
And I tried to pick some that would be audio friendly, that tell a story, that have some salesmanship, I did, and we're catchy jingles.
So are we going to play some more cancer stick commercials, or what are we doing?
Yeah, put on clip 2, Al. This one's not quite as long, everybody.
Okay, here comes clip 2 from the Chance Bartels collection of
film and video vault.
Choke and gag commercials.
Smoking in the lobby only, sir.
Great, give me 2 in the lobby. Still, I sure would like to have a lucky.
Well, you come to the movies to watch the movie. Small jumbo size, please, without caramel.
Yep.
And not to do anything else. Then why
This is an
are
animated
you...
commercial, by the way. This is a cartoon.
Good. Well, I didn't have a lucky. Watch the show.
Nothing like a smoke after dinner.
Tastes fine.
Yeah, fine tobacco.
Mild.
Too fine to filter.
What I wouldn't give. I just wanna.
Tobacco and taste too fine to filter. Yours in every lucky strike. Remember how great cigarettes used to taste. Lucky.
That's all.
Have you tried a lucky in the lobby lately?
Peter Gunn is brought to you by Winston. Winston, America's best-selling filter cigarette.
That's what my parents smoked.
Did you ever see the movie Gun?
Yes.
Sherry Jackson was in it. She was
Yeah.
nude, topless.
Just about everybody knows the words. Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. They know Winston's different. It's the one with a pure white filter plus filter blend up front. Bright, clear tobacco, specially selected and specially processed for filter smoking.
So you can get cancer quicker.
Filter blend is what makes people say, Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. Try Winston, and you'll know why more people smoke it than any other filter cigarette.
All right, that's groovy. That's a groovy thing.
Teach a bear how to dance? Never.
They said it couldn't be done. They said nobody could do it. But L&M is low in tar with more taste to it.
And they said this couldn't be done. They said you'd never get the real taste of fine, natural tobacco through a filter that brings you smoke truly low in tar. But L&M did it with the modern filter. The famous free-drawing Miracle Tip, so advanced that L&M can use the light, mild, premium quality tobaccos you've got to have for full, rich tobacco taste. That's the big reason why L&M is truly kindest to your taste.
L&M is low in tar with more taste to it. Don't settle for one without the other.
Now we're buying L&M cigarette now if you paid me because I've heard too many L&M
Yes,
commercials.
dear.
Give me a cigarette, will you, huh?
Don't say cigarettes. Say Philip Morris.
Oh? Is there any other kind?
Not for you, there isn't. Nothing but the best for Mr. Ricardo.
Thank you. Lucy, you're so good to me.
You see how easy it is to keep a man happy? Why not give your husband a carton of Philip Morris cigarettes?
Smart move. He will love them for their mildness, their smoothness, and their wonderful good taste. And he'll love you, too, for thinking of him.
That's right. Good night, everybody. And don't forget, call for Philip Morris. Call for Philip Morris.
It's Johnny.
Hey, sure.
Fred and Barney.
Don't they, Barney? Yeah? I hate to see them work so hard. Yeah, me too. Let's go around back where we can't see them. Gee, we ought to do something, Fred. Okay? How's about taking a nap? Hey, I got a better idea. Let's take a Winston break. That's it. Winston is the one filter cigarette that delivers flavor 20 times a pack. Winston's got that filter blend. Yeah, Fred. Filter blend makes the big taste difference, and only Winston has it. Up front where it counts. Here, ahead of the pure white filter. Winston packs rich tobaccos specially selected and specially processed for good flavor in filter smoking. Yeah, Barney, Winston tastes good, like cigarette should.
Now, here's the sad part about that commercial. All the primary stars of that commercial, they all died of lung cancer.
No fooling.
B. Benaderet died shortly after Petticoat Junction started. And Alan, I'm sorry, folks, I forgot his name, who played Fred, he died of lung cancer. And, however, Mel Blanc kind of outlived them all almost. And
Hiya, Buck.
Yeah, that was him.
Buck Rogers playing the voice of Twiggy and Buck Rogers.
So that's a sad statement of cigarettes. What cigarettes will do to you. And I'm surprised that would have been really sad if Mel Blanc had lost his voice box and wouldn't be able to do any more caricatures.
Right. I'm in no way
really
encouraging cigarette smoking. I just think
He
the
could do
ads are
Daffy
cool.
Duck.
Yeah.
Later we got a cool Doral jingle and some others. We'll get to it later. We'll space it out because I don't
Well,
want to just overload us with cigarette ads.
Yeah.
And have you think I'm trying to promote smoking, which I'm certainly not trying to
let's
do.
bring it up a little bit and play some other commercials with. And again, this show is about commercials and
Classic retro commercials.
So here's one right here.
From the valley of the jolly,
Ho, ho, ho.
green giants, good things from the garden in the valley of the jolly green giant. Summer green, snapping fresh, kitchen sliced to taste their best. Tender beans are coming from the valley.
These green giant green beans start from special seed and grow into these tender, thick meat beauties. Then they're kitchen sliced at an angle to bring out all their flavor and freshness. Taste the difference yourself. Try Green Giant brand kitchen sliced beans. And if you prefer, you can get the Green Giant's French style beans too.
Good things from the garden in the valley of the jolly.
Ho, ho, ho.
Green giant.
And then another one is this one. Here it comes, Al. Let it continue to play.
Are you a no-dab man with dry, lifeless hair?
Frill cream, a little daffodil.
Become a one-dab man. Put life in dry hair and fun in your life. But beware of being a two-dab man.
Use more, only if you dare. But watch out, the gals will all pursue ya. They'll have to get their fingers in your hair.
Brill cream. A little dab will do you.
Al, that's what you use, isn't it?
I have never used Brill cream a day in my life.
Here he comes, greatest toy.
Do you remember this commercial, Al?
Mr. Machine.
No.
He is real,
It's a robot.
he is ideal.
It's an ideal toy. Mr. Machine.
I don't remember that.
It's clear you can see every gear, the brightest, biggest gears ever seen.
Mr. Machine.
He talks, no, he squawks as he walks. Along the ground and round and round and round. You can take him apart, every gear and nut. But you can put him together and build him up. Wind him. Go on. You can't break the spring, but listen. Hear him ring?
Here he comes, greatest toy you've ever seen. And his name is Mr. Machine.
So anyway, it was an ideal toy, Mr. Machine. It was a big robot that you had, a big giant key.
I bet you had one, didn't you?
No, I didn't. No,
Really?
I didn't.
I'm surprised.
But there's
Did
still
you want one?
Well, now I do. But they even came back out with them, reproduction, of course, of Mr. Machine because he was so popular. Because you could take him apart, put him back together again, and it never works again. But the toy commercials alone, Mattel had so many commercials. Ideal used to sponsor cartoon shows. Getting back to the way the sponsors sponsored stuff, Ideal sponsored the McGilla Gorilla Show, Top Cat, stuff like that. They sponsored the whole damn show.
I know that
and
from comic book ads.
Yeah, exactly. And
from
loaded
comics
up there
from before my time. Yeah, from the '60s.
Yeah.
And, yeah. I think George of the Jungle, those kind of.
You
shows.
have the ad for Operation where the guy was.
That's
Is that a Mattel?
Operation.
Bradley.
No,
Milton
Bradley.
It's a Milton Bradley game.
Yeah,
Operation. I love that jingle.
board game.
Operation.
Yeah, and that was, and again, they still make that toy for all the kids out there. So they come up with different versions of them. I can't think of some of them right now off the top of my head, but I've seen them in the stores. Here's what the commercial sounded like, Al.
Doctor, he needs an operation.
Is it water on the knees?
Operation.
The whole bucket tea.
Operation.
A Charlie horse is true.
Operation.
I'm the doctor for you. Remove the pieces and collect your fee. But don't touch the sides. Take out the ribs carefully.
Operation.
Collect $1,000 fee.
Operation.
This broken heart won't do.
Operation.
I'm the doctor for you. How's it look? Good to me.
Operation.
Now here's
That's from 1994.
That's an example, Al, because Operation, that as a chance stole my. That was from 1994.
Well, I remember from the 60s
Well,
and
exactly.
70s.
Exactly. Here's the one from the 70s, and it had a different sound to it. Here it is.
That's the best one.
Operation. Milton Bradley's goofy game for dopey doctors. Here's your patient.
And there's still plenty of dopey doctors.
Careful, if you touch the sides. You blew it, Charlie. Next.
Take out Randy Danko.
A winner. Operation. An electric game from Milton Bradley.
Now, when you're playing Operation, is that the same as playing Doctor? Just asking. I mean,
yeah, without as much paperwork to fill out. and no insurance needed. You know, that's the thing about that. But
man, I used to love board games like Battleship. I mean, that's a whole.
And they all had commercials, and they were all great commercials.
Who was the biggest sponsor on Saturday morning cartoons? Was it Mattel?
Well, Mattel was, but Mattel had so many dangerous stuff out there for boys, especially with the guns and it shot stuff, put your eyes out and things like that. And Mattel was probably obviously the most famous. And then Ideal took over for a while. And then, of course, there was a toy that started back in the 30s, Marx toys. Marx, they made the Flintstones play. I've got it at home, still have it. I got it in the early 60s. And the Flintstones playset. But Marx was the king of toy makers in the 30s and 40s and 50s. They made all the tin toys. They made Amos and Andy toys. They made Charlie McCarthy toys. They even made a Milton Berle toy. I mean, Marx was the king of, and that's another show we got to do. Just classic toys, because the Great Galoo. There's so many major toy stuff out there, and not to mention the commercials, and I have all those too. But there's, again, just like whenever we talk about stuff on the Pod Blast, there's so many daggone things we can talk about that we don't even touch. We haven't even talked about beer commercials.
I have a Hamm's beer coming up.
Good, and there's so many great beer commercials that defunct beer company. Blatt's Beer was another one. They sponsored the Amos and Andy show, and I'm just saying, Schlitz.
The Bull.
Pabst
I was
Blue
just
Ribbon.
thinking of that.
Yeah, Schlitz.
Say what?
Who was the champagne of bottle of beer? Was it
Schlitz malt liquor.
Schlitz malt liquor.
And the Bull would come crashing.
I gotta
in.
take a Schlitz.
Of course, and then there's Billy D. Williams, Colt 45 malt.
No,
liquor.
Miller was the champagne of bottled beer.
Was it Miller?
Yeah.
Okay,
Miller,
there you
you're
go.
right.
Well, there you go.
Schlitz is the beer that made Milwaukee famous.
Then I was wrong. Okay,
Yes.
you're right.
I was wrong.
You're right. Well, that's because Al's a really big drinker, and he knows
That's
this
right.
stuff. Just kidding.
Not as big as Chance, though.
No, just kidding. But there's so many commercials out there that we didn't even play you some of the really good ones yet. But I don't know what time. I don't know how much time we've got. But We
How long have we recorded, Al?
We need to pull up a few more and maybe
Hour
play.
and 2 minutes.
Oh, cool. We
got time to play a few fun ones because we haven't. Even though we played a couple of fun ones, we need to play some more fun ones that aren't quite as long and are just fun to listen to again because you probably haven't heard them in a very, very long time.
We'll play them.
Mamma mia, that's some species. Got spicy meatballs, Jack. Take 28.
It's a great one.
What happened?
Mamma mia, that's a spicy meatball. Cut.
Nothing. You're not
The
patient.
accent. Huh.
It's too hot.
Cut.
This is a very visual commercial, folks.
Funny.
Micey, micey, ballsy, ballsy. Take 59. And action.
Now he can't eat
Sometimes you eat more than you should. And when it's spicy besides, Mamma Mia, do you need Alka-Seltzer? Alka-Seltzer can help unstuff you, relieve the acid indigestion, and help make you your old self again.
Mamma mia, that's a spicy meatball.
So anyway, that is a very, very visual commercial. And here's another one, Al, that you'll probably remember along the same lines. Are you ready?
Yeah, play it.
All right, here it comes. You'll recognize this one.
You worked too hard, you ate too much, the cheesecake made you greedy. Let your
Plop, plop,
aching head
plop,
and
fizz,
stomach
fizz.
hear
Yeah.
this message
Yeah.
for Speedy. Alka-Seltzer, plop, plop,
Fizz, fizz.
Oh, what a relief
It is, yeah.
Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. Those Speedy bubbles relieve your upset stomach and headache fast. For acid indigestion alone, Alka-Seltzer Gold. Oh, what a relief it is. What a relief.
So I hate
Those are the best.
Yeah, I know. I hate to play two Alka. Well, actually, that's the third Alka-Seltzer we played.
But you know,
they're good. They're classic commercials.
There was another one. Remember the guy had the big stomach, and they played the song "No Matter What Shape Your Stomach's In" by the T-Bones.
But it was very visual.
That's a great commercial too.
That's one you'd have. Now you asked about it a minute ago, so here it is. Again, very visual.
When you drive to Wendy's and order a single, you get more beef than the Whopper or the Big Mac.
Where's the beef?
You never have to ask, where's the beef?
See,
I love it.
But again, those are classic commercials that.
And that's one of several.
That
of
you
course.
all remember. And
But that lady was in the
one,
commercial.
though,
she became a big star.
Right,
You
the
know, she
old
was on
woman-
Carson, and
the
she
old
was
woman goes up to a hamburger bun, and it's all bun, and the meat, it's like a little pea.
Yeah.
And so she, where's the beef? And it just caught on.
and here's
Before the internet, it went viral, and there was no internet.
Here's another one. Here's another one you're going to remember.
What's this stuff? Some cereal. It's supposed to be good for you. Did you try it?
Mikey
I'm
can
gonna
eat
try
it.
You try it.
Mikey
No
can eat
spoilers,
it.
Al.
You try it. Let's get Mikey. Yeah. He won't eat it.
He'll eat
He hates
anything.
everything. He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
There are two kinds of Life cereals to please all kinds of kids. Regular Life and Cinnamon Life.
So there you go. I mean, that's a classic commercial. And he came back and did the commercial in the
When he was growing.
Was the 90s, I think it was.
Yeah, it was
He came back. He came back and did it again, which is very, very cool. That it made that type of an impact that they brought him back for that. Now, again, you got beer commercials. You got TV commercials. You got CoverGirl commercials. You've got Ipana. Do you remember Ipana?
Nope.
No.
Nobody remembers Ipana? Come on, listen to this.
I don't even know what it
Yeah,
is.
you'll
I know
recognize
what
this
it is.
jingle. Here it comes.
Ipana presents
This is from Disney.
Beaver Space Guard.
Brusha. Here's the new iPad.
Remember the movie Grease?
Brand new
Yeah.
flavor.
Thank you.
It's dandy for your teeth.
It's decay germ, and he's headed this way.
The decay germ.
Cavities in everybody's teeth.
So anyway, that commercial appeared in Mickey Mouse Club all the time. I mean, I remember I had a network print of Mickey Mouse, and that commercial was, or one. Let me rephrase that. One of the Ipana commercials. It wasn't that particular one. And Al, you talk about jingles. You talk about the Coke jingles that you
Yeah,
like so much.
yeah.
How about this one? This is the most famous jingle that Burger King ever had.
Have it your way. Have it your way. Have it your
I like it.
way at Burger King.
May I help you, sir?
2 Whoppers, 2 Whopper Juniors, and 4 Coca-Cola. And would I have to wait long if you made 1 Whopper with no pickle and
Yes, you
no
would.
lettuce?
No, sir.
No, but we'll screw it up.
I do.
And you'll drive away.
Orders don't upset
Be
us,
pissed.
so we ask you that you let us serve it your way.
Oh, well, in that case, could I have the other Whopper with extra ketchup?
Sure. We can serve your roast beef.
So, but anyway, it's have it your way. That was their most famous commercial. You'd think they would bring that jingle back.
They should bring it back.
But of course they're not going to, because that's just the way it is.
They don't digress.
And
They
how
just
about the
move forward.
McDonald end characters like Grimace? What the hell is Grimace?
Well,
a
no
big
one knows.
purple lump of
It's the,
doo-doo?
What's this crap you found on the bottom of your shoe when you're walking away from McDonald's is what it probably is.
Now, we had McDonald's earlier.
Now you talk about commercials for cereal. This is a famous character from the commercial from cereal.
You two want to take a horsey ride?
Uh-oh, Tony.
Sure, but first we'll start with the complete breakfast, including my vitamin pack Frosted Flakes. They bring out the tiger in you.
We'll see how good you are.
Frosted Flakes good? They're good.
You see, that was a famous line from that
And he
commercial.
just passed away. The voice of Tony the Tiger.
And that was, I don't even think that was the original
there were a couple,
voice. That was from 1994. I don't even know that was the original.
Also,
the original did pass away. The original voice artist.
And the post-cereal commercials were great with the Looney Tune characters.
Well, that's true too.
You
That's
know,
true
remember
too.
Bugs Bunny did the commercials for post-cereal?
I don't remember
They
that.
sponsored the show, the Bugs Bunny show.
Who did? Would you say?
Post-cereal and Tang.
Oh, yeah,
Remember
yeah.
Tang?
Oh, yeah.
The drink
yeah,
Tang?
Yeah, but see, they didn't have a memorable commercial.
Did they take that to the
They
moon
really
for
did.
real?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Well, the
And they just
Tang,
had
they did when we went to the moon. You know, the Tang
Yeah.
tied in going to the moon. And
In 1969.
Yeah,
The year they
yeah.
banned cigarette commercials.
Well, exactly. Now here's
television.
here's something McDonald's did, which is pretty clever, I think. I'm going to play you the first one, and see if you recognize these characters from these classic sitcom shows. You ready? Here it comes.
McDonald's is bringing back all your old favorites for a reunion. A big double cheeseburger reunion.
It's great to be back.
Grandpa Munster.
We're reuniting the big taste of 2 all-beef patties.
Jack Clever.
And golden melted cheese.
My, that's a lovely double cheeseburger you're eating, Mrs. Cleaver.
Thank you, Eddie.
Together with a new large order of crisp golden French fries.
I love French food.
So hurry, it's only for a limited time.
Oh.
It's McDonald's Big Double Cheeseburger Reunion.
Y'all come back now, here?
Now keep it playing because
y'all come back now here.
They're back.
Oh, that's nice.
All your old favorites. Back for the Big Double Cheeseburger Reunion at McDonald's.
And loving it.
We're reuniting
Get
the
smart.
taste of our Big Double Cheeseburger and
Would you believe?
a new large order of hot golden French fries.
Let's commence to eat.
So hurry, McDonald's Big Double Cheeseburger Reunion won't last.
Don't tell me this won't last.
It won't last.
I asked you not to tell me that.
that was great.
Who was that guy's voice? Who was that
Well,
guy?
that was Al Lewis, Grandpa Munster.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
can't see your
and
computer.
if McDonald's was smart, they'd bring that commercial back and listen and play it on MeTV. Play it on MeTV or any of the antenna TV, any of the classic TV. That would be awesome.
And also Don Adams was in that. That voice you heard at the end. The younger generation know him from Inspector Gadget, but of course he was in Get Smart. And they had Mrs. Cleaver from June Cleaver, Leave It to Beaver. A lot of the classic actors, not just Grandpa Munster, were in that McDonald's spot. Tom made a good point there. They should bring that back. They should air that on MeTV or one of the retro channels. And McDonald's actually should do that with shows from the 90s, like Urkel or whatever. You know, have some 90s iconic for younger folks do a McDonald's ad or something. That would be kind of cool and throwback and retro.
But then again, there's all these rights. I'm sure they would have.
Well, also the marketing people are not that bright these days.
They're not that savvy to do something that clever.
But they would be giving away commercials for the business, and then they're saying, "Well, why should we pay? You're going to play the old ones. Why should we pay?"
Yeah, but
They can't do that.
But again, the classic commercials. It's just like back to old time radio. If you, sorry, radio spirits, but they reprocess the show through Cedar processing. The shows sound great, but they take the commercials out, which sucks. I don't want to listen to that old time radio without the original commercials. The original commercials were part of the show. So there's and we'll talk about that during.
Well, TV Land used to play retro commercials when they first launched
Yes,
in the
they did.
90s.
Yes, they did. Yes,
And
they did.
same thing with MeTV. MeTV stopped, I believe, but they were playing retro commercials as well. And so what was that other over-the-air network that WSB here in Atlanta carried?
RTN. And but yeah, getting back to not my idea, but echoing what Tom said, have people from that show like Boy Meets World. That's really popular with younger people, like people in their 20s and stuff. They should bring those folks back, having like a cheeseburger, because that food is out now. Fast food and greasy food. People are eating healthier now. But I don't know. I think that would be cool. I agree with that.
Was that
before
antenna,
Me TV?
Was that antenna TV?
No, it was retro TV.
Retro TV.
Retro
and
TV.
They would also play retro commercials. Yeah.
RTN. And I see people in our Facebook group cutting in live now. Kim Ponder is out there saying, who all remembers the cigarette machines in restaurants? Those and the cigarette ads were everywhere, and they were. At magazines, remember TV Guide? Right on the back to be a Salem cigarette ad. They had that spot locked down for weeks and weeks and months and years. Salem cigarettes, Now cigarettes in TV Guide as well. Product placement galore. Yeah, they couldn't advertise on TV since 1969, but they sure advertised everywhere else. Joe Camel, that was a controversy. I remember in 1987, being like 16 years old, and Joe Camel, that really appealed to people that were teenagers then. And there was some backlash because of that. And if you're watching on Facebook Live, sorry, fistfulofradio.com listeners, or anyone listening on Apple or other podcast platforms, you can't see this, but I have like a Budweiser stuffed animal that I have. It was actually my sister's, and she was going to throw it away, and I kept it. And when she moved out, or I moved out, I forget. One of us moved out, and I saw it. She was going to throw it away. I said, can I have that? She said, yeah. So that was my sister's. It's pretty cool. A little Budweiser stuffed animal bear. It just looks so cool. I mean, who are they marketing to? Kids? Anyway, it's a cool little Budweiser wrapped. It looks like like a bear made out of a Budweiser can. Many Budweiser cans. It's kind of cool. All right, let's get back to the show, and then we'll be back 100% live. But hey out there, everyone watching. Kim Ponder again says Benson and Hedges cigarettes. Yes, they advertised in magazines, People Magazine, TV Guide Magazine. Pre-internet, right? Let me see who else. BK on the Air's out there, of course. He's always supportive. Appreciate that. And I love his show, BK on the Air, WBHF. Anyway, let's continue on, and I'll get back to it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, real quick, side note. Really important, everybody. Listen up. Retroagogo.com. Retro, RETRO, -go.com. They are releasing an amazing Munsters retro stuff. The big giant wall mask, like you used to, the Ben Cooper masks that you could buy when you were kids.
Well, I remember.
They reproduce those, and they reproduce them in big giant sizes, like 19, 20 inches big, and in the box with the cellophane on them and everything. And they're getting ready to release on November 1st the Munsters series, and they look great. They look amazing, and they're.
I bet they do. I also want to acknowledge James Install's out there. He has a radio show on tonight in St. Louis. It's on a major radio station out there, and it's called Geek to Me Radio. I want to turn you on to that. James Install, ENSTALLI, and he has a YouTube channel, but it's Geek to Me Radio. And he's going to go live tonight at 10 o'clock, which is 9 o'clock his time, 10 o'clock our time, because he's in the Central Time Zone. So look it up. Let me look up the call letters real quick, and then we'll get back to our show about classic commercials, because we still have some more clips to play that I think will bring back a lot of memories for you. And keep commenting. I will take requests. I can find some hopefully on YouTube, but let me see. Geek to Me Radio is on. Listen to my typing. I'm a loud typer. Anytime I work in an office, people complain and make jokes about how loud that I type. James Install. He's on Apple. He's everywhere. He's on the air. He's radio. Let's see. St. Louis. Geek to Me Radio. St. Louis. I can't remember the call letters. It's K something, because that's the way it is out west and in the center of the country. Let's see. What radio station is that? He's about to go live. Here we go. The big 550 KTRS in St. Louis, Missouri. Geek to Me Radio. And I think he's on from 10 until 11 our time, Eastern time. So that would be 7 o'clock Pacific and then 9 o'clock Central. Yeah, 9 to 10 his time, 10 to 11 our time. But I highly recommend cut out of my show if you must. But check out Geek to Me Radio. He's on Sunday nights. Uh, again, Geek to Me Radio, 7 to 8 Pacific, 10 to 11 Eastern, and 9 to 10 Central time. All right, let's get back to the show. Back to the Nostalgic Pod Blast. I'm Chance Bartels. Thanks for making us part of your weekend and your day.
And they're about 20 or 30 bucks. They're expensive, but man, they look awesome.
And you're going to get some, I'm sure.
You think? So go to Retro Go, and they got a lot of other cool Halloween stuff. I know it's not quite Halloween. This is October 17th when we're recording.
What? Kim Ponder also adds, I just watched the Munsters tonight on Cozy TV. Cool. I'm glad they're airing. I wish they would do a Munsters channel. Like there's an Addams Family Pluto TV channel, which is a streaming service. I think they're all uncut too and free on Pluto TV. And if you don't have a way to stream, it's not like you have to watch it on your phone. That's what people don't understand. You can go to Costco or your favorite retailer and buy a Roku Ultra for $100 or less. And they even have a Roku Ultra with a DVR built in. I don't have that model yet. I'm going to get it soon where I can record stuff from the stream. It's really neat. And there's the Price is Right channel. I'm a game show nut. And they're playing the Bob Barker era Price is Right. There's an entire channel dedicated to nothing but the Bob Barker Price is Right. They started in the 1982 season, 82 to 83, and they're up to 1984, but it's 24/7, and there's new ads in there. There are commercials, but these are limited commercial interruptions, really. When I say that, I mean, yes, there's commercial breaks like they were when they originally aired on CBS, 11 a.m. to noon, our time in Atlanta back then. But they're true to the length of the breaks. In other words, they're not cutting any material out like they do on MeTV, Antenna TV. For a half-hour Munsters, for instance, they will cut out over 3 minutes of scenes so they can play commercials. Reason being, back in 1965 to 66, 64, when Munsters was on the air for 2 seasons on CBS, the length of a show without commercials was 25 minutes, 30 seconds. Now, it's down to like 21 minutes on network and 22. It's been 22 minutes, 30 seconds for far back as I can remember, since like the late 80s or something. I know like Nick at Night, when they were airing the Patty Duke show in like 1988, 89, 90, 91, 92, for example, or Bewitched without ads, because I'd record them on a VCR. I'd cut the ads out, and they'd be 22 minutes, 30 seconds. So that means they're cutting over 3 minutes of scenes out. And it's even worse for an hour show. An hour show without ads was 51 minutes, 30 seconds. You know what it is now? It's like 41 minutes. Almost, that's over 10 minutes less of material for current network shows, in most cases. Some are 42 minutes. But I remember, like, when I was in high school, it was like 48 minutes and then down to 46 minutes for an hour show, without commercials, mind you. But it was always in the 60s, 51 minutes, 30 seconds. So a show like a Star Trek that you see on MeTV, you're missing a lot in an hour show. But they would have like a 1 minute next week preview for Star Trek, and that would be cut. So at least, you know, that doesn't affect the story of what you're watching. There's 1 minute right there. But then they still have to cut it an additional 5 minutes or so of actual scenes. That's why I prefer to own my material, because I'm a collector, on DVD or Blu-ray, or stream it in a commercial-free, uncut environment like on Paramount Plus, Disney Plus. I love that they put The Muppet Show on Disney Plus, and Paramount Plus are playing some classic shows like The Love Boat, if you like that. I think it's a cheesy show, always did, but they had good guest stars that I liked. They had big stars of TV at the time, and I'm going to do a show about The Love Boat and Fantasy Island. That was a powerful combo on ABC Saturday nights for years. Anyway, let's get back to the show. Becky Ross Smith says, this is true. So many things bad for you, no fun. Huh. Yeah, I mean, right, I dig it. Let me get back to the show. Yeah, cigarettes aren't bad for you. Alcohol, all the fun stuff is not bad for you. That's true, Becky.
Recording this. So be sure to go and to Retro Go now and look at some of the cool retro / Halloween stuff that they've got. And it's very, very cool.
Or for Halloween 2020, depending on when you're listening to this
That's true.
Podblast.
And that's true. And it's not gross stuff or anything, you know, the new bad stuff that you don't like, the splatter stuff. But and I heard 3 from Hell was not a good movie.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I saw the Joker, and I wanted when we do our correction corner later, I'll do a little mini review of the Joker. But
I have no
the Joker
desire to see that.
In my opinion, it was not good. And I'll be brief, but we'll talk about.
And that's not a popular opinion. A lot of people like the Joker. I have my reasons. I think it sent a bad message. I don't know if you've seen it. It's been out a while now. But what happens to Robert De Niro's character, that's brutal, man. But there were some scenes that were great, but just I didn't think, and he is a villain, so he doesn't have to be a redeeming character, no doubt. But I don't know, there were just some things in that movie that, and I know by design it's supposed to be disturbing. That's the point. But anyway, I digress. So when I say I didn't like the Joker, a lot of people are going to hate me out there in pop culture land, and that's okay. Everyone has an opinion. I can get along with you. Can you get along with me? Hey, I hope so, but there's a lot of options out there. So don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Talk about that later.
All right, well, here's another one that you're going to remember. I forget this actress's name, but she has been in
Nothing upsets a pickle lover more
many movies.
than a dull, soggy pickle.
And she's tearing up the restaurant. I'm sorry, this is very visual, guys. And there she is. The
Pickle
restaurant's
lovers
destroyed.
always insist on the proud pickle. Heinz. No compromise, no shortcuts, no soggy pickle. Heinz stops at nothing to give you a pickle that tastes the way no other pickle does. Crisp, full-bodied, savory. That's what makes Heinz the proud pickle. If you were the best tasting pickle, wouldn't you be proud?
And that might have been funnier if it was
Now I
a
want a
pregnant
pickle.
woman. If it was a pregnant woman tearing up that place, that restaurant.
That would have been funny. Now that commercial was extremely visual, and again, we apologize. Some of these are just.
Hey guys, how about some classic coffee commercials? Remember?
Yeah, that's good. I want to just share with you something behind the scenes. Al got irritated with me because I mentioned a pregnant woman craving a pickle. I don't know why, but he found that offensive, and I thought that was interesting. I don't know why he did, because it's well known. I mean, just as a joke, that it's a cliche, of course, that pregnant women crave two things: pickles and ice cream. I don't know if there's any truth to that. I know there's a lot of women out there listening right now that have had children. Is that true? I'd like to know. Do women really? I know they have strange cravings. You know, when they get hungry, they're eating for two. But is that true? Did you crave a pickle or ice cream? I'd like to know. But anyway, Al, after we finish the show, he goes, "Why do you have to mention a pregnant woman? That's crude." And I'm prude? Really? It's a cliche. I wasn't even trying to be crude. And sometimes I am not intentionally trying to be crude, but I know when I'm about to cross the line and when I'm not. And I certainly was not trying to offend anyone by saying it'd be funnier if a pregnant woman was going nuts over a pickle. I think he thought I meant it in a dirty way. I don't know.
Do you have Mrs. Olson?
Mrs. Olson, Maxwell
I didn't
House,
mean it that
Good to
way.
the Last Drop.
Let's hear that.
Yeah. Do you have one of those ready? Let's hear it.
Well, I'm afraid we'll have to call the garage, Mrs. Olson.
Oh, thank you so much. I hate to be such a bother.
No bother at all.
Well, while we're all waiting, I'll make some coffee.
Don't you think she's got enough trouble?
Oh, I wish I could make coffee he likes.
I find you have to start with the right coffee. So I always use Folgers.
All coffee's the same, Mrs. Olson.
Oh, no. Different coffees taste different. And I think Folgers tastes best.
Why is Folgers so different?
It's specially blended.
Joe ought to like this. What's mountain grown?
Mountain Grown's the richest coffee there is. Try some.
Hey, that great smell coming from your coffee pot?
Uh-huh.
That's good coffee. There's one more problem.
Oh.
We're gonna have to get a bigger pot.
That's so funny. And that was Stephen Collins.
Stephen Collins, who is
Stephen
a
Collins.
child molester, unfortunately. He got in trouble. It's
Really?
true. It's in the news.
When did that happen?
He got busted. His wife, he admitted it to his wife. It's pretty disgusting.
Oh, that sucks.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
He's a sicko.
But Mrs. Olsen was played by
Virginia Christie.
Virginia Christie, and that was a spot from the early '70s. But here's the bad thing about that: that commercial.
Stephen Collins must be Catholic.
The only thing you remember about that commercial was
can't believe
Mrs.
I said
Olsen,
that.
Folgers coffee. There was no jingle. There really wasn't. So it was kind of crazy that you associated coffee with this German accented lady. Wow, did she really have an accent? I wonder.
She did not.
There you go. Acting.
She's an
everybody.
actress.
Acting.
Virginia Christie.
Well,
married
yeah.
to Fritz Feld.
Fritz Feld? Well,
Do you know who that is, Tom?
No, I'm not sure who.
You'd he used to do this. He used to do this hand pop thing. Go.
Oh, yeah. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
I
had
do
a
that all
little
the time.
mustache.
Yes, I know exactly who that is. I didn't know he was married to her.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Kind of an odd couple.
Now
He's
here-
a little dude like me.
Now, here's a Folgers from the 60s, which is probably more like what you might remember.
You make me feel very unwifely, McNaughton. Go barbecue.
I still say don't serve your awful coffee with my steaks.
Oh, Mrs. Olson, he's always crabbing about my coffee. I could cry. Your coffee, sir.
Thanks, beautiful.
You're welcome.
How can such a pretty wife make such bad coffee?
I heard that.
Oh, no.
So how are you, sir?
It's gonna be a fight.
Why so glum?
Nothing. Well, it's your coffee.
It sucks.
Again? Even today?
Honey, your coffee just doesn't taste any good.
Yeah.
It must have been such a nice vacation. Did you ever see Larry looking so happy?
Oh, honey, happiness is a vacation. Away from your coffee.
Which still sucks. I mean, you think after the third commercial she'd get it right.
But still,
I'll get some at the plant.
Harold, is the coffee all right?
Mm-mm.
You mean it's as bad as yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
Now, see, that was the ongoing theme of these early 60s Folgers commercials. They were very, very sexist toward, the ladies. They can't make a cup of coffee. And this is a compilation of a bunch of the 60 ads from Folgers, and that was like the fifth one.
What about Maxwell House?
Well, wait a minute. The theme was, you make crappy coffee, so you need to get Folgers. But, yeah, of course, Maxwell House.
And these women are almost in tears in
Yeah,
the
the
commercial.
Maxwell House had the little percolator. Boom, boom, boom,
Of course.
boom, boom, boom,
Yep.
boom.
But the thing about but Folgers but Folgers had no line that like Winston takes
No
me like a cigarette.
tagline.
Sure,
Yeah.
they had nothing.
Right.
They just had these poor women
Getting insulted.
getting badgered about not being able.
And how can you screw up coffee anyway? Too much water? I mean, how do you make bad coffee?
Well, who knows?
Trust me, you can make bad coffee.
Huh.
Well, let's listen to
Or
them.
burned, I guess, bitter and burned.
Well, again, they've got all these different kind of Maxwell House commercials. Let's listen to this one. This was from the early 1960s.
Good morning, dear.
Good morning, sweetie birdie.
The great Charlie McCann.
You're out of coffee.
Isn't that wonderful?
Out of coffee?
What a time to run out. And why run out? Now there's a new giant-size Instant Maxwell House. A really big jar of coffee. New giant-size Instant Maxwell House gives you cups and cups and cups. Dozens of extra cups of the coffee with that warm bean flavor. Warm bean flavor because it's made from coffee beans still warm from roasting. That's why new Instant Maxwell House is the freshest
And Tom
tasting
doesn't
coffee
like
yet.
coffee.
So to make
stand it,
sure you've
sorry.
always got plenty of
Only
coffee for the
drinking
man
water
in your
myself.
house, get the new giant-size Instant Maxwell House. You won't have to run out again.
You know what that reminds me of, Tom? The movie Airplane, when they ran out of coffee and everyone panicked.
That's true because
Anyway,
but
remember
this-
that scene?
Yes, I do. Yeah, and that was great. But this commercial was a very they call it a very odd vintage commercial because it has Charlie McCann, a famous puppeteer from Los Angeles. He did the voices of Laurel and Hardy on the cartoons, and he just died this past year. And great ventriloquist, great puppeteer, great voice actor. I can't think of all the list of characters' voices. Oh, he did the Abbott and Costello cartoons. He did those. He did Lou Costello. I think it was him that did Lou Costello. But he did so many voice characterizations. It's not even funny. He died last year, but he was in this commercial, which made the commercial. It was a very, very funny commercial.
How about headache commercials? Remember Anison and Bayer?
I've got some on the clips coming up. I put in buffering.
Yeah,
Anison, had the pain, the hand.
and
Yeah. I guess Tom is searching.
Well, talk about your dead air, guys. You know better than that. Here's an Anderson commercial from the 1960s.
Well, let's hear it.
It's going to have a commercial before the commercial. Oh, that's great. It's the first one that's hit me like that. Sorry, I would kill the computer if I were you, but That's one of those things where they play the little ad before the commercial. So
No, we can-
sorry, that I didn't know that was going to happen.
You can skip the ad in like
But-
5 seconds.
Well, you can't do that, but here it comes out.
All right, we're ready.
Mommy, that looks good. Hi, darling. Hurry and get ready for dinner. PTA meeting tonight.
Ellen,
What's that?
please. I just got home. Don't rush me.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Anger?
Sure you have a headache. You're tense, irritable. Don't take it out on her.
You need Anacin for fast relief. The big difference in Anacin makes a big difference in the way you
he's
feel.
gonna beat her up.
Minutes after taking Anacin,
That's not
headache
funny.
pain's gone. So tension's gone. Irritability's gone. You're in control again. You see, Anacin is a combination of ingredients that contains the pain reliever prescribed most by doctors. So for headache pain, remember, an aspirin tablet gives some relief, and with buffering you get some. But an Anacin gives this same pain relief, plus extra relief power, plus the power of an extra ingredient. So millions get fast
Zach
relief
Bahari
without
failed
stomach
or
upset.
something.
The big difference in Anacin makes a big difference in the way you feel.
And it gets you hooked real easy. It's got that rare drug oxycodone in it. I'm kidding. It does not. I was just kidding. That was a joke. That was a bad joke. But Mattel,
funny.
again, you're talking about Mattel. Here's one of those Mattel's commercials we were talking about earlier. Starts with the gangsters. It's Otis from Andy Griffith.
Some fun when Snubby Gun
Otis the
plays
drunk.
Private Eye, and you can have the same kind of fun with Mattel's Tommy Burst Detective Set. The Tommy Burst has automatic bolt action. Fire off a burst of 10 shots. Pull the bolt again, you're reloaded. Or fire single shots like a rifle.
Just don't
The
take it out
Tommy
in
Burst
public.
alone is $3. In the detective set, you also get the Snub Nose 38
Wow.
and Snap Draw shoulder holster.
I want
the
that.
pistol fires greeny stickum caps and shoots safe shooting
Jeez,
shells.
it looks like a real gun.
That's what I'm saying. It is.
I have cap guns. Do you have a cap gun?
Yes.
$7 wherever toys are sold.
It's
This is
just
shooting projectiles, I think.
You can tell it's Mattel. It's swell.
and again that was
That wasn't just a strip of caps. I mean, I
No.
thought like something coming out of that gun.
Yeah, and that was the famous Hal Smith from Andy Griffith Show, who's a really wonderful human being. He's a great guy. He did Winnie the Pooh. He did a lot of voice characterizations as well. But then Mattel came out with a toy in the 60s that I had on my bicycle. Al, did you have this on your bicycle? Here it is.
Now play it.
All right, now, how does a train go?
It's a kid opening his
Now
mouth.
an ocean liner? Now then, how does your tricycle sound? I see. But how would you like your tricycle to sound? Well, you can make it roar with Mattel's terrific new Baroom hot rudder engine.
I had
Put
one.
it
I got
on a
one for
track
Christmas
like
one
this,
year.
Or like this. You get your own special key.
Yes, you
Start
do.
it like Dad's key starts his car. The remote control is up here where it belongs. Sounds like a real engine.
And actually, I think my brother had one too. I think we both had one. No, it was just me. I had one when I was a kid. It was great. It was great fun, pretending you were riding a motorcycle. You got some more clips, Chance?
Yeah, I do. If there's some ready. I don't know if Al's got it ready or not.
All right, play that clip 6 for us.
Taste me, taste me. Come on and taste me.
Taste what?
That's amazing.
No, that's Doral. The first low-tar
It's a
nicotine
dancing
cigarette with so much flavor it says taste me.
These people are on a plane, by the way.
A dancing cigarette.
On a plane, about to light up a stove.
Taste me, taste me. Come on and taste me.
Tastes great. But I mean, how does Doral sing?
Well, sometimes in regular, sometimes in menthol.
Taste me.
And that's one of the last
it-
cigarette commercials on TV,
yeah.
1969.
It sings during all the chemotherapy.
Will she kiss you again? Be certain with Certs, the delicious candy mint that stops bad breath. Delicious candy mint, perfect breath mint. Certs is two mints in one.
mints in one.
Certs contains a sparkling drop of Repsin to stop bad breath. With Certs, if she kissed you once, she'll kiss you again. Be
yeah.
certain with Certs.
That's right.
Joy is for sharing a time for the two of us. Being together and sharing our joy. Our joy is for sharing too. One piece for
Glad they dumped this jingle.
Yeah.
Sometimes you think,
The
sometimes
only
you feel like a
double
nut,
candy bar
sometimes you
made of
don't.
juicy, tender, moist coconut and roasted almonds in a blanket of real milk chocolate. Almond Joy. It's made for sharing.
Yeah, see, the combo commercial is better.
Exactly how to eat an Oreo, well to do it. You unscrew it very fast.
It's kind of a hippy-dippy commercial for Oreo.
Little love an Oreo first and save the chocolate cookie outsides for last.
Hey, there's more frosty cream in between.
Aren't Oreo kids lucky? Aren't Oreo mothers wonderful?
Oh, what you do?
Eat the middle of an Oreo first and save the chocolate cookie outsides for last.
What you do is you eat about 4 of those and go to the dentist.
One day,
Don't brush
Mort
your
Meek was eating his Chips Ahoy cookies
go
with
to
an
the
average of 16 chips. But what's this? Why, it's nothing! The invisible monster! So Mort turned into Cookie Man, and then turned invisible too! And the fight is on! Aha! The moral? Chips Ahoy cookies with 16 chips are better than anything, and Cookie Man is better than nothing.
Okay, unmemorable.
Mother Nature.
That's me.
This
Look
one's
at
memorable.
this redwood, one of my best efforts.
Speaking of best efforts, taste this.
My delicious butter.
That's chiffon margarine.
Oh, no, it's too creamy and sweet. It's my butter, all right.
It's chiffon. Fooled you, Mother Nature.
It's not nice to fool Mother Nature.
Now, that was a famous one.
If you think it's butter, but it's not. It's chiffon.
I still won't buy that butter.
Captain Crunch, the crunchberry beans found the four-leaf clover.
Swell! What do we wish for, CB? Of course!
Now, who was the
Captain
voice
Crunch
there for
cereal
Captain
with
Crunch?
Strawberry
You know?
flavored crunch berries.
I
Two
used
kinds of
to.
flavors, two kinds of crunch, and a good part
You know
of a
Al?
nutritious breakfast. Very well. I wish CB had all the crunch berries he wants. Next
It
time,
sounds like Jim
let's
Backus,
not
but
wish
it's not
quite
him.
so
It's not.
hard.
Mr. Magoo.
Crunch berries from Quaker.
Well, in answer to your question, Chance, I did have a chance to take a little quick cheat peek. And what are you laughing at, Al? Come on.
I'm laughing at you.
Well, the famous, and I do mean famous, voice actor Dawes Butler. He was up there with Mel Blanc. He was every bit as popular and did just as many voices. I mean, he did Yogi Bear, he did Hokey Wolf, he did Elroy Jensen, he did Loop de Loop, which wasn't as famous, of course. He did Wally Gator, he did Quick Draw McGraw, Snagglepuss, Huckleberry Hound. The list goes on and on. Dawes Butler did Captain Crunch. So there you go. So now you can put that in your little smoking pipe and smoke it because you're the Mr. Smoking commercial guy this week.
Thank goodness for Google.
Yeah, right.
Wikipedia.
That wasn't Google. That was Wikipedia.
Oh, Wikipedia.
That was
Whatever.
Wikipedia. I want to say that. But we talked real quickly. I know we got to get out of here, folks. We talked about all kinds of commercials. I don't think we really played one beer commercial, but there's one little beer commercial that's new that everyone, all the millennials and everyone seem to identify. Well, okay, newer that everyone seems to identify with, and this is what it sounds like. I'm going to play you a little bit.
His fortune cookies simply read, "Congratulations." Skinny dipping was his idea. He can slam a revolving door.
Now, this guy looks a lot like me.
He is the most interesting man in the world.
That's me.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis.
That's a good commercial.
Yeah,
And you know what? And it reminds me of, he was actually, this guy, an extra in that classic Star Trek, the original series.
Oh, no kidding.
Someone actually found like a film cell of him.
But it's much younger, of
Highlighted.
course.
Oh, yeah,
Much
yeah.
younger,
He was like, I don't know, probably a teenager or something.
Yeah.
But I like that. And then Dilly Dilly, you have all sorts of
Oh, yeah.
catchphrases and
yeah,
taglines, things that become hot for a little while and
Yeah.
trendy.
Yeah, exactly. But there's so many commercials. Even there's just some good commercials today. But I really find the best commercials are the funny commercials that you walk away from laughing. Just like the Super Bowl commercials. They used to be really funny, a lot of them. But even they kind of lost their luster over time. The past couple of Super Bowls, I don't think there were really any really good commercials that stood
You know
out.
why? They got political.
Well, that's yeah, maybe so.
They did.
I like the Dorito ad with the goat.
Yeah,
from a
but-
couple Super Bowls ago. That was, I guess,
But
5
again,
years ago.
but again, that was 2 or 3, 4 years
Yeah,
ago.
right.
And last Super Bowl, I don't remember.
Well, the
Super
Bud Bowl was the best.
Well,
The
yeah,
Budweiser.
but I don't. Yeah, But even the funny commercials, if you watch commercials anymore, because everyone DVRs everything and fast forwards through the commercials, and they know that. But I can't think of any current commercials that I'm going, now that's a good commercial. That's a funny commercial. Yeah, they're shot beautifully. Oh, that's so beautiful, lit nicely, shot wonderfully. But the funny commercials are kind of gone by the wayside. So anyway, Chance, you know what time I think it is?
Yeah, I think it's time for...
Don't mess up in my banter.
That's right, Correction Corner. And I'll be brief because we've gone a little long today, but I want to mention that last weekend was the 100th Atlanta Comic Convention, and we had a great time at the convention. Also, I saw the Joker, and I hated it!
Sorry, that was me.
I hated the Joker.
Frozen pudding on a stick. I'm gonna
just kill my ears.
Sorry, yeah,
My ears
Right.
are hurting from that.
Now, I think the acting by Phoenix was really good. Okay, so no disrespect to him, but I just thought the movie was pointless. It was nasty just to be nasty.
But you
I
didn't
didn't
do
think
your
it any
correction corner.
redeeming.
You didn't do the
I'm
correction.
going. I'm leading into that.
So it was more of a.
It was, in my opinion, yes.
Okay.
I mean, there's some horrible things. I'll go ahead and spoil it. All right, here's a spoiler alert because I hope you don't see this movie.
Okay.
But if you plan on it, this is a spoiler alert. Okay. I mean, I could do without the scene where the Joker like kills his mom in her hospital bed with the pillow, which is
Oh
kind of
my
an old
gosh,
hat
you're
soap
kidding.
opera trick. But the thing is, in Aurora, Colorado, this psycho went nuts and shot some people, right?
Yeah.
When Heath Ledger played the Joker. So I thought
Yeah.
it was irresponsible for them to show the Joker shooting up a subway. You know,
Well, yeah.
just gun violence for the sake of gun violence. And
Sure.
then the worst part was he goes on the Tonight Show, and this is set, by the way, in like the early 80s.
Uh-huh.
And I'll be brief, but he goes on the show, and Robert De Niro plays basically like the Johnny Carson character. And in the middle of him being on the show doing supposedly comedy, because they brought him on the show to follow up on something. If you saw the movie, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And he pulls out a gun and just blows De Niro away as the host.
You're kidding.
And it was kind of like a take on King of Comedy. Anyway, it's just a horrible movie with no real message other than
gratuitous violence.
Gratuitous violence, and so.
But I have I would have no
hated it.
desire to see that movie.
It
to be
just,
honest with you.
I just
Antifa,
thought it was really,
it's an
really bad.
Antifa anthem,
Correction
really.
Corner, I wanted just to say we did 2 podcasts, Pod Blast on horror, and I wanted to do a third. And if you watch this Facebook Live, you see that we've had some sort of infighting and bickering and stuff. And I wanted to do a third horror podcast. It got shot down, and that's fine. We'll do one next year. But I want to mention some horror movies briefly that we did not touch on in our horror podcast. My Bloody Valentine, Nightmare on Elm Street, the Amityville Horror Series, Rosemary's Baby, It's Alive, Maniac, Scanners, Evil Dead. One correction was I said, when I was talking about the Friday the 13th box office dollars, I said Jason Takes Manhattan was part 7.
That was a movie?
It was part 8. Yeah, it
That was a
actually
movie?
was funny. Let me just say, there was a funny scene where Jason fights this dude
Did you
on
see
a
that one, Al?
rooftop.
Did
No,
you see that movie? Al?
Jason, it's tongue in cheek. I mean, they
I
all
don't
have
like spider
elements of
movies.
comedy, but Jason fist fights this guy, a thug, and he punches him one punch, and the guy's head goes clean off his torso into a dumpster. I know it sounds gruesome, but it actually was played for laughs, and it was kind of funny. The dumpster goes flying because of the brute strength of
Did he
Jason.
fight that cowboy that plays the guitar in his underwear?
No, they should have. That would have been.
That
They should have
would've been-
taken him
that
out.
would've
And then
been
another
funny.
movie I liked that was scary was Bug. That always freaked me out from 1975 with Bradford Dillman. You ever see that where an earthquake releases these prehistoric bugs?
Yes.
Horrible movie.
And the only thing they were missing was the big giant shoes that were brought in by helicopters and stomped the bugs. Right, Al?
Right. The
They
Ring.
were roaches. That was on the movies channel the other day.
The Ring series. The Ring is an excellent horror movie. The Final Destination movies are excellent. Phantasm, Grizzly, shot in Georgia in the mid 1970s in
Yeah.
Clayton, Georgia. And you mentioned the Creep Show series, and I didn't realize the new Creep Show series is by Greg Nicotero.
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
directing some, and he's executive producer. And I actually auditioned for him years ago to be a featured walker. So, and then Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte. I could go on and on. The Bad Seed, but we'll talk about horror. Oh, I Spit on Your Grave. There's a lot of horror movies, whether you like them or hate them, that were memorable. So we'll do another podcast later on.
There
Thanks
was
for listening.
there was a drive-in movie that it was gross. It was called The Corpse Grinders. Remember that, Tom?
Oh, yeah.
I've never heard of it. Tell us
Yes.
about it, Al.
That was
Tell us
just
about it.
gross.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
they took body parts
But-
and they grind them up to meat and they ate them. They put
Yeah,
them
but
in
it was
this-
funny.
Oh,
But it was funny.
It was a
funny.
I
funny
guess
movie,
Pink
yeah.
Floyd was inspired by
Yeah,
that.
but
for
you
the
talk-
video of another brick in the wall.
But you talk about newer movies. Let me make sure I get his name right. Guillermo del Toro. He's got the most amazing horror collection in his house. Go look him up. He's
a pretty good actor.
Oh, yeah. But he has a movie that just came out in 2019 called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Very, very good movie. It's not a horror. I mean, kids could see this. It's not that kind of a horror, but it's a horror movie. It's more of a ghost story, and it's very well shot. Obviously, it's a very well done movie.
I'm going to look at it.
I mean, seriously, it's a very, very well done movie.
And help me with the pronunciation of this guy. M. Night, what's his name?
Shyamalan.
Thank you. I never really cared for his scary movie. I think they're all like kind of cheap thrills, and they're cheap to me. I don't know, like where someone will just come out from behind a curtain, like an alien's hand or something. I don't know.
You're right.
He's gimmicky, in my opinion.
No, you're right.
But Al, I want to apologize for all the clips. And I eventually will get those cigarette clips on this Podblast in another edition. I want to play some more.
I like cigarette commercials. I just don't want to be inundated with it.
I know, but I really think, and I stand firm in my belief that they have historical significance because they've been banned.
All commercials
and we don't have issues with rights, so we can play in their entirety anyway.
Sure. But again, with everything we talk about, we just barely touched upon.
Absolutely.
Touched upon it. And I'm sure everyone listening.
We could do one on radio commercials.
How about that for a correction corner? There was only really one correction.
That's true.
Well, later on I can tell you because there's so many topics to cover in a nostalgic podblast. When we talk about old time radio, that will probably be 2 or 3 shows.
And I won't say a damn word because that's your cup of tea, your cup of blood.
And it's that vast and that, I'm not going to say complicated, but I'm just going to say I've got a book at home it's literally tells all. It's like an internet movie database, except it's in a book form, and it's probably 8 inches thick, 9 inches thick.
That's what she said.
Radio shows there used to be. That's a lot of stuff, and there's no way you can cover it all. But there's so many mainstream radio shows that we will cover, from Jack Benny to the more obscure radio shows. I think are more important and more fun to listen to. Because the Jack Benny shows and all the Shadow, all these shows that you hear all the time, I hear them all the time.
Now, Chris Elliott's dad, he did a show like that. It was two comedy.
Yes, he did. It was 2 guys, and I'm sorry you asked me a question I wasn't prepared to answer.
Threw you off.
But they were very popular. They did the Tonight Show with Carson a lot, and I can't think of their names. I'm sorry, but they had a radio show as well, but the Benny Show, okay, we all know about the Benny shows, okay? We'll talk about it, but there's so many other shows. Red Skelton, I mean, the list goes on. Even Dragnet had a radio show, for crying out loud. So there's so many of those. There's Film War.
Bob Elliott.
Bob Elliott.
Bob and Ray.
And Ray and Bob, that's who they were.
Bob and Ray.
Bob and Ray, probably, that's how they said it. And but there's so many radio shows, and there's some crappy ones too. Great Gildersleeve had several Gildersleeves, for instance, but they both sounded a lot alike. Harold Perry was one of them. Phil Harris had a spinoff show from a Benny show. Phil Harris Alice Faye show. Great show. Great writers. Every show was amazingly funny. Anyway, we're talking
guys.
too much.
Al, anything to add?
No, we got to get out of here.
Hey, what about next time? You want to talk about Lost in Space and finally do that show?
We'll have a little round table discussion.
You don't want to decide right now?
No, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
All right, till next time.
Okay, bye.
Till next time, everybody. Toodles and carry on, and remember, don't go looking for them Mattel toys. I don't even know if they're still out there.
They are.
And that's how that was. And I have another retro commercial to play for you. Chance Bartels back with you live on the Nostalgic Podblast. Thanks for hanging with me tonight. It's late, and we'll be back to 3:30 p.m. next week. Atlanta Eastern Time, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time next Sunday. And I'll tell you the topic in a minute, but I want to talk about this. Here's another retro commercial that segues into what I want us to talk about next. You'll recognize this gentleman. He just got out of jail.
Pudding Pops, frozen pudding.
He just got out of jail. You heard it.
Pudding Pops, frozen pudding on a stick. You know, all the finest castles serve Jello pudding pops.
They do?
Mm-hmm. It's a snack fit for a king because it's so rich and creamy.
Yeah!
And Mom won't throw you into the old dungeon when you eat it because she knows it's made with real pudding.
It is?
Mm-hmm.
Jell-O brand pudding pops. All the goodness of real Jell-O pudding made with milk, so you know it's wholesome.
A veritable feast for the tummy.
And I'll end up in the dungeon.
That's minus. And don't put pills in it. Don't put pills in the pudding pops. Pop. I'm just kidding. I love Bill Cosby, but it's sad when you find out that he allegedly, and I think he probably was, well, we shouldn't talk about that, but why not? He was knocking out women, having his way with them, which is some sort of, it's criminal. I mean, it's not even a fetish. It's criminal. Anyway, let's stay happy. Stay happy and talk about my nostalgic treat of the week, which obviously are pudding pops. Pudding pops were frosty ice pop treats, which were originally made and marketed by Jell-O brand, gelatin. And they were first launched with Bill Cosby acting as the spokesperson. He marketed them as pudding pops. Pudding pops originated in Baton Rouge, Louisiana in the 1970s in the United States of America and became more popular in the 1980s. In its first year, Pudding Pops earned $100 million, and after 5 years, it was earning $300 million yearly. Despite strong sales into the 1990s, Pudding Pops were eventually discontinued due not to being profitable anymore. They were reintroduced to grocery stores in April 2004 under a new brand name, Popsicle. However, due to differences in texture to the original, because it would really melt. I loved those Jell-O pudding pops, the chocolate ones especially. They were great. That sounds kind of dirty, but I loved them. However, it sounds perverted. However, due to differences in texture to the original and the different shape, popularity never reached its predecessor's popularity by Jell-O, which resulted in them beginning to be pulled from store shelves around 2011. Pudding Pops came in a variety pack of chocolate, vanilla, and chocolate vanilla swirl, which have 90 calories per serving and 3 grams of fat and 15 grams of carbohydrates. Now, next week, we're going to talk about favorite stand-up comedians, and they're going to be highlighted with clips of some of their funniest routines. It's going to be an R-rated pod blast. Not every clip is going to be R-rated, but there will be some with some foul language, so be prepared. Fistfulofradio.com, it doesn't matter. We're uncensored there. But it's going to be a hilarious pod blast talking about famous and beloved stand-up comedians. Hope you can make it. And also, make it a great week. And remember, I'm on Barry King's show, BK on the Air, along with Alan Sanders, every Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon Atlanta time on WBHF AM and FM, which you can stream at WBHFradio.org, not .com. Let me repeat, WBHFradio.org or on the TuneIn app. And thanks to all who voted for the Nostalgic Podblast in the Top 50 Countdown at podcastmagazine.com. It's much appreciated. And see you next time. And I have a very special guest coming up within the next 4 Podblasts. And by the way, special thanks to the Southern Fried Gaming Expo, as in game room, gaming, like gamers, Game Room Expo. I broke a record for Whirlwind. This is just a personal best. I know you probably don't care, but it made me really happy. I was the grand champion on the pinball game made by Williams Pinball and Williams Electronics in 1989 called Whirlwind, based on a tornado theme. And it was a sequel to Earthshaker, which was an earthquake-themed disaster pinball machine that Williams produced. And I hit 45,800,620 points. Booyah! And before we sign off, here's a few sounds of Whirlwind for those that don't know this pinball game. It's a classic.
Oh, looks like rain.
Pinball is just one of my favorite games. It really is good for your eye-hand coordination. It does require skill. And what was funny about when I broke the record, they were closing down shop. Usually on Saturday night, this is a 3-day annual event, the Southern Fried Gaming Expo, that I mentioned earlier at the top of the show, at the Cobb Marriott Renaissance Waverly Hotel in Cobb County at the Cobb Galleria. And Saturday night, they're usually open until 2 a.m. Well, they start closing at 11:30. All of a sudden, there's a sign, we're going to close at 11:30. I don't know if that's because of COVID fears or what. So they make an announcement over the PA while I'm jamming on Whirlwind. And I have all these extra balls. That was the key to me breaking this record, is I kept getting extra balls. That sounds so weird. Anyway, you know what I mean. I mean, my mind's in the gutter tonight. But I kept getting extra men. That sounds bad too. You know what I'm trying to say? I kept getting extra lives. There we go. Extra lives that kept elongating the game. And I was afraid they'd cut the power before I could put my initials in. So I sacrificed the last man or ball. It's really called a ball. Just so I can get my name in there. I could have kept going beyond. I could have reached over 50 million points. Did it earn me a cup of coffee? Of course not. But it was just a personal record. And that's a game I played since it was new in 1989 at the old arcade. And it made me happy to break that record. When I left the festival today, Sunday, as we record this in late August 2021, my record was still the grand champion on the machine. There's a battery in it, so even when they unplug it, the record will stand until someone breaks it. So on that particular machine. So had a great time. Thanks again for listening. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week. We'll catch you next time on the Nostalgic Podblast. Be good.